Hello, hello. All right. Look at that. Let's turn me up a little bit. There we go. How's everyone doing? Alright, so this month we have, what, 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, 24, 28, 31 decks to go over. Again, I'm gonna... Oh. Is Twitch or not Twitch preferred? I mean, you can use whatever you want. I'm streaming on Twitch and YouTube, so whatever you prefer. Hello, Guru. Alright, I'm gonna just start at the top here. Now, remember the cards in the sideboard are things that I'm adding to the list. Cards in considering is what gets cut. And for most lists, I did a quick 5-card swap. There's a few that I were like really tuned and I couldn't quite do 5 without suggesting things like dual lands or expensive cards. Hello, Still Splinter. So we'll use the first list here as an example. Take this as like condensed grid. Oops, visual grid. So this is a Saheeli the Gifted deck, which Saheeli the Gifted is, you know, it's a planeswalker that lets you cheat out big things. Yeah, the second +1, which is the next spell you cast this turn costs 1 less for each artifact you control. It's a huge delay on YouTube compared to Twitch, like 10 seconds. Really? Oh, interesting. Can you sign up in time for the stream? The submissions for this month are closed, but this is the September one because it got pushed back since I was moving last week. So you can join the Patreon and submit for October because I haven't done the October one yet. So this list is pretty simple. We're cheating out big things, right? This is a play Saheeli plus Saheeli, put a Kozilek in play, right? And the deck is pretty good overall. My overall changes are a few things. One, with a deck like this, we just want cheap, efficient counterspells. So actually going down Arcane Denial and I'm replacing it with Spell Pierce or Force of Negation, just as like cheaper ways to protect your stuff. Expedite is like, it's so dead if you don't already have an Eldrazi in play, or it's only good the turn where you cheat an Eldrazi into play and can give it haste. Otherwise, it's useless, right? Because if you draw it on a later turn, your creature can already attack. Yeah, I'm not doing these. I'm not doing these live. I went through and I made the changes already to all of them. Otherwise, the stream would be like 9 hours or something. It would take forever. Like I do these over time, slowly. I added Into the Floodmaw as another like cheap bit of interaction you can use to like protect your commander on an early turn. This card's actually seeing CDH play. It's very good, very efficient. 1 blue to bounce any permanent is really great, and giving someone a tapped 1/1 is such a small downside. I swapped a mountain for Sundering Eruption, just because it's a great way to, like, it's just better utility than a mountain. And then cutting Imposter Mech. Imposter Mech doesn't copy your things, it only copies your opponent's things. So it's not like you can copy your own Eldrazi Titan or whatever. So it just kind of sucks. Eldrazi Conscription, way to win more, because like, yeah, the first plus with Saheeli is very doable and you get one big thing down, but getting the second plus after you've become archenemy is a lot harder. And then just to get your commander into play faster, Jeweled Amulet is a really cool piece of pseudo fast mana. It's pretty interesting. It's you can you know, should I zoom in a bit? How's this? Is that better? Yeah, let me zoom in. Jewel Diamond is great. It's 0 mana, then you can pay 1, put a charge counter on it, and then you can remove a charge counter to add a mana. So on turn 1, it ramps you 1 mana, and then it ramps you every other turn, basically. But it's good just to cheat your commander to play a turn earlier. Overall, this list by Luxior is pretty great, pretty strong. I think it's a good list. I just think it needed a little bit of tuning. I would potentially maybe make some more changes to the mana base. Like, this deck really wants to be fast, so this tap land is kind of meh. But otherwise, it's alright. Alright. Next list. Okay, this was from a patron who wanted to do a... they wanted to do a Zirda Dawnwaker companion deck. So Zirda's companion restriction is every card needs to have an activated ability. And then Zakama is the actual commander. So this was pretty interesting. They also wanted to keep it under $100. Although the list was like $170 when it was sent to me, so I tried to trim the budget as much as I could with the 5 swaps. Overall, the list is pretty sweet. There's a lot of like Hydras because they have Monstrous, as their activated ability. It's pretty cool. There's some fun things in here. So on to the changes. Okay, Null Elemental Blast. Do you have some thoughts for this list? I mean, you can make suggestions right now. That's why it's live. If you wanna recommend something, you can throw something out. Null Elemental Blast. I think this card's bad. Multicolored cards are actually statistically rarer to see than monocolored ones, right? Because it has to be a multicolored deck and it has to be a multicolored card within the multicolored deck. Even this 3-color deck, mono white card, colorless things, mono white, mono green, mono red. Like, multicolored cards actually show up a lot less often than people realize. I think this card's quite bad. Birthing Pod, cool in the deck. It's like $10 though. It was really bad for the budget. Also, this isn't like a Birthing Pod list. It's just kind of like useful. Oh, it read 99.97 when you sent it in. It was higher, and then I changed it because I had it listed as Card Kingdom before I changed it to Cool Stuff Inc., the sponsor of the channel. Yeah, I think some stuff had gone up in price. Like, I think Boromir has gone up in price. Yeah, almost all removal you see is monocolored, so it's like Null Elemental Blast isn't good at countering removal. Most board wipes you see also monocolored. Like, name a multicolored board wipe. Kaya's Guile or something? Like, there's not much. So these cards were just kind of cut for like budget reasons. They're all good in the deck. They're just the most expensive. So I wanted to add a multicolored card. Atla Palani, actually. I think she's really good. When you're playing like a slower budget deck like this, you want to be... Hello, Tesseract. TCG might be cheaper as well, yeah. But then you have to pay the extra like shipping cost because you're buying from different sellers. So like the cost might be lower, but then the shipping cost makes it go up. I think with shipping costs, when you're buying a full deck and trying to price a whole deck, it's usually better to go with a seller where you can buy pretty much every card. Oh, Supreme Verdict is another multicolored counterspell. Still can't be countered by Null Elemental Blast though, so another L for Null Elemental Blast. When you're playing a slower budget deck, I think cards like this that can really take over the game, take a lot of time to like just get value over time, is really good. So Atla Palani, I think pretty good. Call of the Wild has a good activated ability. This deck is really creature heavy. I think it's like kind of a fun gamble you could easily just go for in the late game. Cauldron of Souls, you're really creature heavy. This is good board wipe protection. It is more expensive than I kind of wanted for a budget list like this, but it's the cheapest board wipe protection option, I think. Inferno Titan, another card that just grinds, is pretty great. Oh, what's the commander for this list? It's a Zakama deck with a Zirda partner, or companion. So you set up for FPS games? I mean, I could boot up an FPS game, but now right now this is the Patreon deck review stream. Maybe in the future I'll stream other games. Lastly, Keen-Eyed Curator, another card that just like it's like a Scavenging Ooze that can become like a 7/7 with trample. I just think it's pretty good. Yeah, that's it. Honestly, overall the deck's pretty fun. I would love to like take another look at this. Like if you submit this one again, you don't have to, but if you do submit it again for next month, I would love to try and like tune it down to get the budget even tighter. Maybe Farewell has to go. It's kind of expensive. Otherwise, it's a good list. I mean, these are like really great like activated ability utility creatures. I love Golden Guardian to like slowly make 4/4s. It's cool. It's a sweet list. Okay, Chandra Family Reunion by Silent Cross. Ceylon? I don't actually know how to pronounce that. So we're playing Osier, which is interesting. Instead of Flippy Chandra. Yeah, Twitch does not like YouTube chat on stream. I know, but I'm not partnered on Twitch, so there's nothing. They're not going to do anything about it. Do I like Keen-Eye or Scavenging Ooze more? I think it kind of depends on the deck. Your list already had Scavenging Ooze, so I just thought of doubling up. Honestly, I just think they're both good. Keen-Eye is more green up front, but less green over time. So I think it's better in 3-color decks than Scavenging Ooze. But it kind of depends on your list. So this deck is interesting. Osier is the commander. Osier is the commander with instead of the other Chandra, and it's Chandra Tribal. Like we're playing 18 Chandras, which is arguably too many. Yeah, who cares exactly? Like you know, like Jeff Bezos can send me an email if he's really mad. You want me to change it to Visual Stacks? Is Visual Stacks better? I think Visual Grid. No. Visual Grid or Visual Stacks better? Visual Stacks is like... I guess I can highlight things this way. I think Visual Grid looks better. Anyway, 18 Chandras, probably too many Chandras, but I didn't want to recommend cutting any because it's kind of the purpose of the deck, I guess. Yeah. Link, I don't think I've done yours yet, so you should be good. Go Grid. Everyone's saying Grid. Okay, Visual Grid. All right. So this deck is kind of... it's a bit odd because there's like half the deck is like Osier stuff, and the other half is just this pile of Chandras. Yes, there's no Blood Moon in this list. I think it's a lot more aggressive than that. How much is it to get a deck list reviewed? It's a $5 for the Patreon deck list review. There should be a link to the Patreon in the description of the Twitch channel. If not, you can find it on my YouTube as well. Yeah, it's $5. They could be playing Blood Moon here, which would be sweet. Let's talk about the cuts. So I did 2 mountains. The list was running 38 lands, which I think was a little high. So I went down 2 mountains and added 1 Valakut Awakening, which is kind of like a mountain, but it's a spell. And this card's just one of the best cards in the game in Casual Commander, in my opinion. So 37 lands, yeah, I think it's pretty good. And then I wanted to cut some of the Osier stuff for some more, just like protection for the Planeswalkers, you know? Hey, what up, Stygian? So Crawl Space, really great. I guess it doesn't actually protect your Planeswalkers. But Silent Arbiter does. I just think more Pillar 40 kind of things would be great, just because people want to be attacking you. These seem a little win more with the commander. You need to have the commander out and something that pings and all the mana to pump it up. So instead, I just went with like mana barbs. It's just way faster than these at just taking out the table. Thermal Alchemist, you don't have that many instances of sorceries. Seems kind of mid. Threw in Light Up the Stage, just a little extra card draw. Maybe Crawl Space is kind of weak in this list. I don't know. I really like defensive cards in decks that will be lowering your own life total a lot with things like Burning Earth when you tap your Desolation Tower. So I think it could be pretty sweet. So yeah, that's the list overall. I mean, it's kind of funny. I'm excited. I want to see this deck in action. Like, I want to see you play 18 Chandras. I don't know how good it is, but it certainly is a deck. It's kind of cool. All right, Guff. Ain't that Guff enough? This is a good. This was a good. What's it called? Deck name. That's pretty funny. Space Canary. So Commodore Guff is an interesting Planeswalker in the command zone. It puts a loyalty on another walker. It makes dudes that are mana dorks for Planeswalkers. Descent into Avernus could also be good in that Osier deck. Yeah, that's true. I would have recommended more cards like that, but like they just wanted 18 Chandras, so like, who am I to cut Chandras at that point? Commodore Guff is pretty cool. And then he lets you draw cards and deal damage to each opponent who X's the number of Planeswalkers you control. Kind of cool. So we're running 19 Planeswalkers, which I believe is down because I recommended cutting one. The list overall is pretty good. We're looking at, like most Planeswalker decks, pretty low creature count, just the utility ones, maybe something to make blockers. What I did notice was only 2 board wipes. Your friend does Chandra Tribal, and much like most higher power walker decks, it's more of a... You write Yackle Hops and like Impending Disaster and like those big stacks effects, those are the most powerful things you can do with Planeswalkers. Right? You stick 2 Planeswalkers, you Yackle Hops, boom. GG. It's like a combo at that point. And if you want to go that route, it's totally fine. I have no problem with that. It's just... if they didn't put it in the list, I'm going to assume that they're not looking to do that. But yeah, this list was pretty good overall. So there were a few things that I suggested. Cutting. All Will Be One, I think you don't add loyalty fast enough. Like, All Will Be One is great in a +1/+1 counter deck because you add so many counters really quickly. It does a lot of damage. With loyalty counters, it's a lot slower. This is like not doing that much, I don't think. Do I generally recommend 5 cards to be changed? Yes. Sometimes more, sometimes less, usually 5. When I make these recommendations, they're almost always also, I kind of go with the general budget of the deck. Like if they're playing $100 cards in the 99 already, then I'm more willing to recommend expensive cards. Like that Saheeli list earlier, I recommended Force of Negation. It's like a $50 card. Normally I wouldn't recommend that, but they have Force of Will and like Grim Monolith and like expensive cards in there, so I know it's not a budget list. But yeah, I do just a quick 5-card swap. You can, if you're a patron multiple months, you could submit the same deck over and over again, and I'll keep trying to tune it. But if somebody submits like a CDH deck or a deck that I've already made 5-card swaps multiple times, then I might not do a full 5-card swap just because I've already made a bunch of changes in the deck. So All Will Be One, cut this. Rowan's talent, I see you have the other talents. I guess it's kind of cute if you want. Yeah, no problem. You can ask you can ask any question here. I see you have the other talents of the deck. It's kind of cute to have all the talents. I just think this one's kind of bad. And they're kind of win more. If you want to leave the talent in, like, I'm not going to be mad. Ornithopter Paradise. I think this card's bad. It's a 2-mana mana dork. I don't know. It kind of sucks. This Tezzeret, you don't really have that many artifacts. It's kind of meh. Even if you ulted it, it's like, I don't know, it's a hard ult to get to. 5 ulti is not bad, but it's only a +1. I don't know. I don't think it's great. Yo, what up? Reliquary Tower. This card sucks. It's not very good in the deck. So you had 35 lands, which was like 34 plus the Reliquary Tower. A little low. I think a slower controller deck like this, you definitely want a little bit more. So I'm adding extra Wrath because your Planeswalker deck, Wraths are great. Some more just mana instead of Reliquary Tower, like a Farm Verge, or maybe Mobilized District. It's a utility land that I think you will get more value out of than Reliquary Tower. Like, how often do you have 10 cards in hand and you have to keep all of them? This can sometimes, for 0 mana, just become a 3/3 and block a Planeswalker. It's great. And then Iganjo, this is another really, really good card. More lands, it's also removal. It's pretty great. And then Sphere of Safety. Even though you don't have many enchantments, right? Even though I'm recommending you cut one of these enchantments, or 2 of them, just one Sphere of Safety can make it a lot harder to chip in at your Planeswalkers, especially because your commander makes chump blockers. Since your commander makes chump blockers, they have to attack you with multiple creatures, so even just one Sphere of Safety by itself can be a pretty big tax. Yeah, I get that it's not quite an Arcane Signet that can block, though, because it can't be tapped the turn you play it. So on turn 2 exactly, Ornithopter of Paradise is probably on par with Arcane Signet, which is good, other than it gets swept up in removal, a lot easier. But on a later turn, like on turn 5, you can't play Ornithopter of Paradise and drop a 4-drop. You know what I'm saying? It's just every turn later in the game, it gets like worse. I think it's just pretty weak. And the deck had like plenty of ramp, as is. I didn't think it needed it, especially because you make mana dorks with the commander. How good is Comet? I mean, technically, it can win the game. They go infinite by itself instantly. So in theory, it's a 1-card win con. I think it's pretty good. If you hit 6 and then roll like double 6s, it's like obscene value. It's crazy. And it makes blockers. That's the important part, is it makes 2 squirrels pretty easily, which blocks for your Planeswalker. So it's really good in a deck like this. Overall, cool deck. Commodore Guff is not someone I see very often. I don't think I've ever run into this card yet, so it seems like fun, though. Okay, Radagast by Kizamu, who is in the chat as well. This deck was cool. I liked this deck. This commander is pretty interesting. Basically, when you cast a spell with 5 mana value or greater, you make a 3/3 beast or a 2/2 bird with flying. So cards like, what's an example here? Actually, you don't have any. It's a good example. I could have hit Submerge. Submerge is a good example. It's 5 mana, but if your opponent controls a forest, you control an island, you can cast it for free, right? So cards like this is really good because it's 5 mana, but you're casting it for 0, and then you get to do stuff. Whiplash Trap was also like a really fun add to this deck. Like, if your opponent had 2 or more creatures enter the battlefield, it's only 1 blue to bounce 2 creatures. It's kind of cool. It's cute. I like this card. So the list overall was like really good. Actually, you made this really hard on me because I was like, in my mind, I was like, oh, Submerge. They probably missed Submerge because like this is like a weird card, or maybe Gush or Misdirection, and then you had all of these already in the deck. And I was like, Mystery Reflection is good in this because you make tokens. You already have Mystery Reflection. You had so many like excellent cards in here already. This was one of the more challenging ones. So you notice there's like 6 things to add. I'll explain that in a second. Few things to cut. Tamio. I think this card is pretty mid. I don't know how often you're flipping it, and the flip side is not great in Casual Commander. Can I zoom in even more? How's that, chat? Is that better? I don't know. I think this card's just not that great. It's really good in 1v1. Oh, another bot. I need to, let's block. Oh, I already told you about Submerge when you posted this in the Discord. Oh, okay. Yeah, well, good on me then, because it's really great in this deck. So, Cut Tamio. This one seems a bit win more, because like your commander is really the only place where you have the birds to draw cards. So, I don't know. It's also 6 mana. It kind of sucks. It's funny, though. Zika's Chariot. You get to make a copy of a token, but you're not making huge tokens that are great to copy. You're just making like 3/3s. It seems kind of mid. Maskwood Nexus. I don't think there's that many synergy pieces for it. I guess just this. Not really worth it. And then swapping a Forest out as well. The deck is slightly more blue, and I felt like we could get some more utility here. I recommended swapping the Forest for either a Castle Vantress or a Mystic Sanctuary. Maybe not Mystic Sanctuary. You don't have that many islands, but Castle Vantress is pretty sweet. I feel like I needed it to set up early and draw later. I mean, yeah, if you're already set up, it's good. I don't know. It just seems kind of Beanstalk Giant is a good thing to trigger your commander. It's ramp early game, late game it triggers your commander, and it's a big creature. I like it in this deck. Combine Chrysalis. I actually think this is kind of better than Ezekiel's Chariot here. It gives all your tokens flying, so your 3/3 beasts are flying, which is great. Yeah, it makes everything... Okay, so Maskwood Nexus makes everything a bird or a beast, right? Which your commander gives them ward. 1. Other than that, what does it, like, do in the list? Because here's the thing, is like, yeah, giving Astral Dragon a ward 1 is, like, kind of cool. But if you're going wide with the beast, no one's going to be using spot removal on your 3/3 token anyway, right? So it's like, is that really going to be like an actual issue here? Let me sideways. There we go. So is that going to be like an actual issue? I don't think so. They're probably going to board wipe you instead. I just think it's not that effective, or there isn't enough value for it. I like Combine Crystals, though. Giving all your tokens flying is great. And if you really want, you can, over time, upgrade your 2/2 flyers into 4/4 flyers. Spelljack is another really fun card in this list. It's so you're already playing like Spell Swindle and Sublime Epiphany, and if you're going to be holding up a ton of mana to cast big counter spells, Spelljack is great. Spelljack lets you counter something big and cast that big thing, so you trigger your commander twice. And then lastly, Temporal Mastery. It's a great way to cast a 5 CMC or greater spell for less mana. And it's pretty powerful. If you just randomly hit it, it can be really big. Monstrous Vortex. I don't... Is this the card I'm thinking of? Monstrous... This is the enchantment, right? Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 5 or greater, discover X. Maybe. The problem is it's only creatures, which I get is the majority of the deck. But creatures that cost 5 or greater is, let's say there's 25 creatures, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 that are not 5 or greater. So it's really only 13 cards that the Vortex affects. Was it power 5 or greater, or is it mana value? Oh, power. Oh, wait, that's even worse, right? 1, 2, 3, like 5, 6. Yeah, that's no. It's power. I like the suggestion, but I don't think it works for that list. Oh, sorry, I didn't give any like closing thoughts here. Overall, the list was really good, though. I think. I think these are just a little low impact, and these could be better on average. And then swap the force for like one of these. But a good list. I definitely want to see it on stream. Okay, this deck. All right, this one was really difficult to make cuts for. Oops. Okay, so this deck is really cool. I'm going to preface this with I only made 3 changes because the list was really tuned already. So this is a Wilson Tavern Brawler deck. Another great name for a deck. A bear walks into a tavern. Super funny. Thank you, Nitsab. So Wilson is a great Voltron commander. Green 1, 2/2, can't be countered. Vigilance, Reach, Trample, Ward 2. Excellent. Yeah, no problem, Kazamu. Yeah, I added a little thing, so it's like oops, phone call. So I was trying to figure out how to talk with my PNG tuber, but I don't have a mouth, so I ended up with this. And then Tavern Brawl is a weird card. Commanders have, at the beginning of your upkeep, exile the top card of your library. This creature gets +X/+O, where X is that card's mana value. You may play that card this turn. So this curve is really sweet, right? You play Wilson, you play this, immediately you can flip a Chroma and give your commander 8 power and swing in for like 10 vigilance trample damage on turn like 4. It's pretty sweet. It's pretty scary. So another deck that wants cards that have high mana value like this, that can be cast for cheaper. Galta, really good one. Primeval Protector is another great one. So these are all good cards, and you had pretty much all the best ones like already. And the deck had a ton of MDFCs. A lot of times when a deck is like pretty tuned, I'll like lean in on recommending these modal double-faced ones that are lands on the other side. But oh my god, you had so many already. Like, holy. 27 lands, 37 including MDFCs. You have so much utility in this deck. It's actually ridiculous. It's so good. This is such a phenomenal deck. So, where was I able to find changes? Whisper Silk Cloak. I'm not sure why this is in the... my mouth looks like a burger when I speak. How many MDFCs are they missing? I think they're only missing the ones that like enter tapped. And they even have the good ones that enter tapped, right? Traverse the Outlands. Sorry, I was starting with Whisper Silk Cloak. The cloak. It gives Shroud, so once you have it on your commander, you won't be able to add more equipment. So, like, isn't that kind of... I don't know. It felt like anti-synergy to me, so I recommended cutting that one. Crystal Ball, actually, you know what's funny? It's a Crystal Ball, I think, is a strict downside over Darksteel Pendant. Yeah. Darksteel Pendant is like strictly better Crystal Ball. Because it's just 1 mana less and it's indestructible. I guess it scries 1 instead of 2. I don't know. But instead of Darksteel Pendant, I was recommending Lifecrafter's Bestiary. This card's really good. So you only scry 1, not 2. But you scry 1 every upkeep for free. No mana investment. And whenever you cast a creature, you can also pay green to draw a card. I think the lack of mana investment makes this probably better, and the fact that if you occasionally draw a card off of it, it's good. Yeah, this deck does look really fun. Like, it seems like an awesome, awesome deck. Trailblazers Stutch? What is that? Trailblazer. Oh, Torch? Is that a typo? Trailblazer's Torch. It is about to take the initiative whenever a creature becomes blocked. That's a neat card. That's interesting. That's another potential add. I went with Mage Slayer because you're in Trailblazer's Boots instead of the Cloak. That could also be good. Instead of the Cloak, I went with Alpha Authority, actually. It gives the creature hexproof and can't be blocked by more than one creature. Considering your commander is going to be huge and have trample, them not being able to multi-block is really big. And of course, hexproof is great. And then I went with Mage Slayer. Whenever equipped creature attacks, it deals damage equal to its power to the player or planeswalker it's attacking, which is awesome. Since your commander already is going to have a huge power, this is going to just crush your opponents. It's gonna do so much damage. The Traverse the Outlands, I wanted to cut. It's like, I don't know. I feel like it's kind of bad. And like, yeah, in theory, your commander's big and you cast it and you're like, oh, I'll put 6 lands into play. But it also doesn't pressure your opponents any amount. I think you just want like cheaper ramp or even not that much ramp at all. Because you just want to be like Wilson, Tavern, Brawler, go, cast things, pressure your opponents, deal more damage, play Xenagos. You don't want to be playing a ramp spell that does nothing, gives your opponent an extra turn to just chill out. Overall, probably one of the hardest decks I've had to evaluate for this month. So many good cards, already a really awesome, efficient deck, seems really powerful. I would love to play against it. Oh, you're currently not at home, but hope you're enjoying. Yeah, dude, your deck is sweet. It's really cool. Like, this is a good deck. Sorry I couldn't find more than 3 changes, but it's a good deck. There's just so much good stuff here, honestly. The only other changes I would recommend is, like, the mana base could be upgraded. Like, we're missing the shock land, we're missing the dual lands, but, like, obviously, you know, I'm not going to suggest buying a Taiga. Okay. Oh, alright. Next. Corrupt Politicians with Grand Arbiter. Now this is a commander that's going to make you arch enemy instantly. It makes your blue and white spells cost 1 less, which is quite good. Your deck was inspired by Game Freak SA. Oh, interesting. I haven't heard of them. Okay. That's cool. Are they another YouTuber? Oh, sorry. Grand Arbiter. It also makes all your opponent's spells cost 1 more, so people have a vested interest in removing this card. So this is just like Azorius control. And this is a really powerful control commander. Counter spells are already really good because of like mana advantage, but making the mana advantage even greater by reducing their cost is just so powerful. So like, really good control commander. Overall, the list was pretty good. Here's a few changes. You were already running Winter Moon, and I like the Winter Moon idea, so why not also just play Back to Basics, you know? And if you're going to play Back to Basics, I think we should cut some of the bad utility lands and bad dual lands for just more basics. More basics for Back to Basics, and Winter Moon I think is really powerful. Windfall. I don't like Windfall in control decks. Control decks want to run your opponents out of resources, which means drawing your opponents a new, fresh set of cards is like the total opposite. No, Raise Quinn, we have not done your list yet, don't worry. So, Windfall, not great in a control deck. Archangel Elspeth, also, it's just kind of too slow. Really great in Standard, but in Commander, I think it's just too weak. Monologue tax. How much draw do they have? You know, they don't have a huge amount of card draw, which I think is part of the problem with this deck. And I'll get into that a little bit more. They have this one, which is good repeatable draw. Dream Trawler is also repeatable draw. Kind of Alms Collector. And then this is sort of card advantage. So I think more card draw is part of what they need, which is part of why I'm recommending Nezahal, actually. I think Nezahal is a much better card draw than Windfall. And it's just like, it's such a difficult card for people to beat in a control deck. And then Monologue Tax. This card sucks. Especially because you're taxing your opponent's spells, right? So it's harder for them to cast 2 spells, so it has direct anti-synergy with your commander. I just recommended another counterspell, Delay. It's a great card. This card's, it's $2, it's super cheap, and it's really good in Commander, honestly. That Commander would make me want to put all I have. Exactly. That's, and you know, that's why they're running like Ghostly Prison and Propaganda, which is good. And Norn's Annex, like they've got a lot of Pillow Fort here. I guess Shorkai is like card draw and Pillow Fort because you can make chump blockers. It's quite good. Overall, this list is pretty sweet. You know, if you want to play Zori's Control, I think it's great. You got a lot of defensive things. Any more changes, I would say, is probably, yeah, like Twitch chat is suggesting here, more card draw. I think you just need more card draw. Good deck overall, though. Seems pretty sweet. I don't mind hard control like this. I'll play against it. I think it's fine. But you're going to get run down by other players, so. No Sphere of Safety. Sphere of Safety is also, like, a potential add. Maybe over Karmic Justice. Karmic Justice is kind of meh. There's definitely more that this list could do. I feel like also maybe another 2-mana rock to get your commander out on turn 3 more consistently. There's a lot more that could be done here, but like generic Azorius Control is really hard to tune. I would potentially maybe cut like Tavern as well. Maybe it's too slow. Stuff like that. There's a lot more that could be done with this list, but I think my changes are like the basics. Psychrift, I think Psychrift is not in here for budget reasons. Or I didn't recommend it. It's not like a super budget deck or anything, but like I know that I know because we've talked. I'm pretty sure this user just pulled the mana drain. What's the win con? I think it's just like Dreamcrawler beats. Just like attack with flyers. A combo finish could be good here just to speed things up. But I think it's just you just attack. That another reason why Nezahal is good. It's a 7/7. It like finishes the game. Azor's Eludicators, yeah, that could be a good way to potentially win the game. Crawl Space, yep, another Crawl Space W. That card is really good. Honestly, like these 3 are like decent. These Dolphins are kind of weak. I would potentially cut them for more card draw or like alt win con. You could go for a flying sub-theme. Yeah, that's true. A flying sub-theme could be pretty fun. You definitely have some good flyers already, so buffing them up could be decent. Like a gravity shift, maybe. Alright. Back to another Saheeli list. Which... also, these, like, descriptions... For this month, I just left them in for the, like... patrons. I didn't write these. This is whoever made it. So in this case, Atog made this. The description. So if you're curious what anything says there, I don't know. It's not... I didn't write it. Okay, so another Saheeli deck, right? And this is... We're cheating out big things again, right? The classic Saheeli stuff, right? Nothing insane here. A lot of big, powerful spells. Time Stretch, Temporal Manipulation. Tons of extra turns here. Karn's Temporal Sundering, right? Good stuff. All of this is well and good. Sweet deck. I hope you have all of these arts IRL. They're very cool. So what am I recommending here? So this list was made before the bans. So Dockside, Jeweled Lotus, and Mana Crypt were the obvious cuts because they're banned. Are you saying this deck is devoid of flavor? Nah, it's like a... I mean, I don't know if it's a flavor deck or anything. It's just he just wants to play big stuff. I also recommend cutting Beacon of Tomorrow's... I think it's the worst extra turn spell. You have a lot of them already. And this Karn is not great in EDH. Unless your playgroup is rule zeroing a wish board, then sure, maybe. But if not, it's kind of not that exciting. So, again, Spell Pierce into the Flood Mob. Similar to the other list, I think we just want cheap things early game to protect Saheeli because you want to untap with Saheeli and win the game. Oh, the Ulamog. Oh. You were making a joke because of the cereal one? Okay, might be. I didn't get it. I think you just want cheap things to protect Saheeli early game because you want to untap the Saheeli and plus, and that's your win con. Jeweled Amulet, another piece of pseudo-fast mana. It's no Mana Crypt, but it does get your commander in a turn earlier, which is great. Also, Gilded Lotus, Chromatic Orrery, big mana rocks. This is something that I was thinking about for the other Saheeli list as well, but I wanted to recommend it here. These are really, really great to cheat in with Saheeli, because when you get it in with Saheeli really early. It gives you so much mana that even after they kill Saheeli, like, you know, you play Saheeli and next turn you put a Gilded Lotus into play. Even if they remove Saheeli, you can have 8, 9 mana the next turn. You can just cast the Expropriate. Like, who cares if Saheeli's gone or not? So these, it might not feel as flashy as flashing is, you know, ramping into the Ulamog or whatever, but ramping into these means even if they kill Saheeli, you have another thing. And if they use removal on the Chromatic Orrery, cool, then you have Saheeli still. So, I don't know, it's pretty great. Are they running Mnemonic Deluge? Mnemonic Deluge, I think they're not running... the problem is you really want to cast that at, like, instant speed and pay the extra tax. So I don't know if it's too good in this list. Wait, is Mnemonic Deluge the one that, I should use this in Scryfall. Is Mnemonic Deluge the, oh, it's this one. No, because I feel like Mnemonic Deluge is funny in this list, but it only works after you've already cast the Temporal Manipulation, you know? So it's something that you want to be the second big spell you flash in or cheat out. But if you've already you cheated out one big spell, then cheating out a second big spell is already good, you know? So it's very, like, win more. Overall, Saheeli, pretty sweet. Seems like a good deck. Not much more to say about it. It's kind of classic Saheeli. Okay, this commander is pretty cool. 8.5 tails. This commander is dope, and this deck is pretty sweet. Am I a fan of Ragavan in EDH? It's very deck dependent. I think if you're playing like that Saheeli list that really, really, really wants to get Saheeli out ASAP, the Ragavan's good because you don't care that it's dead later. You just need more cards that let you get Saheeli in one turn faster. So because of that, I think Ragavan's fine there. Otherwise, unless you're some sort of like aggro, you know, power 2 or less matters or something like that, like, I wouldn't run. I would just play real ramp. The aesthetic of that deck, yeah, they have all the like secret layers and funny arts and stuff. So it would be wacky to see on the table. 8.5 tails, really cool, really underrated card. You can make a permanent or spell white, and then you can give a permanent protection from white. So in theory, if you have infinite mana, you can give everything protection from white and make anything white, which is sweet. Oh yeah, you saw the Ravagers of War? So this is a stack. Armageddon, Ravagers of War, Catastrophe, which is either a board wipe or an Armageddon. Balancing Act and stuff. This is a pretty sweet deck. It's pretty cool. There's a couple of fun things here. Now, in terms of making a stack, stacks for 8.5 tails is a weird thing because you want mana for this commander. This commander is mana hungry because you always have uses for that mana. And stacks is kind of the opposite of that. You want things that don't require mana, that just get value over time. So what I think this deck really needed was more mana. So, a few things. One, I cut Mana Crypt because it got banned. Howling Mind. If you're a stacks deck, don't give your opponents resources. That's not something you want to do. Monologue Tax. Not a good card in general, but also, like, overall, in a stacks deck, extra bad, right? Because you want... if you're removing your opponent's resources, they can't double spell, so it's not going to trigger. Arcane Mentor's Map. Why are we ramping lands if we're playing Armageddon? Secret Rendezvous. Why are we giving our opponents resources if we want to limit their resources? Yes, there is an equipment package in this deck. I'll get to that in a second. So the win con, maybe I'll talk about it here. The win con here is we're just putting equipment on the commander, and then you can make your opponent's blockers white, and then give your commander pro white and just swing in. So there's something like equipment package. I think this deck can close out games pretty fast post Armageddon. honestly. So here's a few things I recommended. Scroll Rack. We're playing land tax. You got the land tax in here, which is great. Might as well just play the Scroll Rack. You know, get the Scroll Rack land tax combo. And then big ramp. These things. Fanged Animal, Gilded Lotus. Excellent, excellent, excellent for stack stacks. Instead of mana ramping with like lands with our Caramancer's map, let's just get a Gilded Lotus in play. Then you Armageddon. Hey, you got triple white still. You can still activate your commander. You can still cast your commander. Really good. Rule of Law. Your commander is a mana sink. You can cast one spell and then just hold up all your mana and use it as you need. Rule of Law is a great card here. Endless Horizons. This card's pretty fun. I want to test it in my mono white deck a little bit more, but you search your deck for any number of planes, you exile them, and then on your upkeep, you could put one of the cards exiled with Horizons into your hand, right? So, what you want to do is like, you can exile all your lands, you can Armageddon, and then every turn, you know you're going to draw a land. And you always make your land drops, which is really good. Oh, yeah, someone in chat also just mentioned, yeah, Flagstones. How did I miss Flagstones of Trocare? I mean, I guess it's $9, but definitely a good, definitely another good ad. You can probably cut up planes for it. It's just a land that when it gets destroyed, you get to search a planes, so parity breaks with land destruction. This deck is sweet. If you are running the Endless Horizons, another suggestion is you could cut all your utility lands, run only planes, and then play Goblin Charbelcher. This is a combo I really want to test out, but I've been brewing around with it. Did it not add Goblin Char? Oh, there it is. I missed it. If you run only planes, it doesn't have to be basic planes, just any planes. You can use Endless Horizons, and then Charbelcher just instantly deletes a player, which is really sweet. It's such a cool way to just like wombo combo. I want to try it out, but it seems fun. Yeah, Charbelcher's sweet. I mean, it's fine if you don't want to play against. I mean, obviously this is a high power deck. I don't think this user is playing this deck against like precons or anything. But honestly, like if they have like, I don't know, even just like a Nettle Cyst or Shadow Spear, like a Hearth and Home in play. Like if they have Hearth and Home in play and their commander and they Armageddon me, I'll scoop it up to that. Like there's no way you're getting out from under that, right? Because the Hearth and Home is just gonna ramp them right back up in lands and boom. Running plans, I hope they aren't bowing it. This deck is sweet though. I think it's cool. I love mono white stacks, so I appreciate this list. It looks good. I want to play against it as well. Okay, we got Gisa the Hellraiser by Funky. Cool commander. Ward 2, pay 2 life and 2 mana. Like, really annoying ward cost. It buffs your zombies, but most importantly, when you make a crime, you make 2/2/2 tapped zombinos. Once per turn, right? Oh, another good recommendation from Twitch chat. Savine's Reclamation. True. Another good one to add. Lets you get your lands back after destroying them. Or other utility cards is good. This deck is pretty cool. It's mono black, like control. You make zombies. All that jazz. It's fun. If you want to do mono black stuff, this is a great commander for it. So what are the changes? A couple of things. Gem Palm Polluter. It's like okay. I feel like it's very win more. You don't actually make that many zombies outside of your commander, so I feel like it's mostly not going to do anything. It's just kind of eh. It does commit a crime at its speed, but like for double black, it's not great. Cut down, murder, you are already dead. These are weak removal spells. I'm going to be recommending a bunch of different ones. And then this Plantier is so slow. Oh my god. If you draw this on like turn 5 or something, it's like worthless. Gleason Bard Artist can be a zombie. Yeah, if you're building, it's not quite an Aristocrats deck, so I don't think it needs it that much. Yo, Airsoft Wrong, my man. What is up? Am I going to be at this for a while? I saw your deck is at the end of the list. If you won't get for a while. Yeah, dude. I'm going in order, so you can see there should be a link in the description to the decks, and I'm just going in order from the bookmark. So it'll probably be a little bit before I get to your list. Also, the VOD will be on my YouTube channel, so you can always review that later. You're going to cut 59 cards from your Lantern Control EDH list? Yeah, you're going to need to... you're going to need to be a patron for me to cut 59 cards from your list. This list is cool, though. Here are my recommendations for ads. Morbid Opportunist. This card is really good. If you're going to be casting one removal spell a turn, it's good, right? Like... Yeah, no problem, Link. Yeah, just go back later. If you're going to cast one removal spell a turn, it's really great. Ghost Vacuum. You can exile your opponent's stuff from their graveyard. It's a really cheap, mana-efficient way to trigger a crime, get some zombies, and late game you could get some value out of it. In terms of other removal spells to replace these ones, I had like a couple of suggestions. Slaughter Pact. This card, after its reprints, is pretty cheap. 0 mana Doomblade is pretty good. It's kind of hard to beat that. Very efficient. Malicious Affliction is Doomblade, but if a creature already died this turn, you get to copy it, so it's 2 Doomblades for the price of 1 Doomblade. Pretty great. Heartless Act, super good. Creatures with no counters is basically any creature. Like, it's pretty rare that you'll see this. Also, randomly, you can remove counters from a creature, which is sometimes good, but mostly it's just 2 mana instant speed removal. And then Go for the Throat, another great, efficient, cheap removal spell. It's pretty good. And then I thought maybe you could get some more control-y elements, a bit more late-game presence, and the other Gisa is quite good, allowing you to yoink creatures. It's pretty powerful. Overall, good mono-black control list. I like the deck. Committing Crimes is fun. Big fan of Magus of the Abyss. Royal Assassin, like these are all cool cards. So I like the deck. It's pretty good. Okay, a Kellamorph deck. Pretty sweet. Actually, my buddy Airsoft Wrong was just telling me about his Kellamorph deck. Too many decks I play have counters on it. Never. I mean, the killer creature that has no counters on it is definitely meta dependent, right? Like, if you play against a bunch of counters decks, it's probably not good. Hex Parasite could be good for a crime deck. Yeah, if you need more crimes. I don't think the deck was struggling on crimes, though. Hey, clip that. Yeah, Airsoft Wrong was just telling me about committing crimes is fun. Crimes is great. I'm very pro crime. But yeah, he was just telling me about his Kellamorph deck, which is pretty sweet, and it's a cool deck. Yeah, your main commander right now. We gotta get a game in. So this is a pinger deck. You know, we're pinging things. It's pretty cool. Normal stuff for it. Couple of changes to recommend though. So the list was running 34 lands, including MDFCs. A bit low. I went with Sink into Stupor. This is one of the best MDFCs ever printed. It is like a pseudo counter spell, and then like also an untapped land on the other end. I think you needed more lands. This card's ridiculous. What's my favorite deck? Like favorite deck that I play, or like favorite deck that I've seen from like patrons? My favorite deck is probably my Jace deck. I love Manual Storm. Or my Bauble deck. On my YouTube page, there's a link to my bookmarks, and I have the decks that I currently play, and you can see all of my commander decks. This is that blue creature from MH3 that's pretty good. What blue creature? couple other changes. Windfall, again, we're a control deck. We're going to have the most cards. Once you get like your curiosity effects going, this deck is going to draw like a billion cards. No need to run Windfall. Treasure Cruise, way better. We have more cantrip things. Oh, the blue MDFC creature, the one that's a wizard weird. That one's also pretty good. I just think Secret to Super is the best one. But it's a weird, yeah. That one's also not bad. Honestly, the MH3 MDFCs are so good. Judith Carnage Connoisseur, but Blasting the City, yeah, it's pretty fun. Rouse Eric, you actually don't have that many instant sorceries. It seems kind of low impact. Prodigal Pyromancer, strictly worse than Volshock Sorcerer. I know it's double red, but you could pay double red. It's a 2-color deck. It has haste instead of this one. Gutshot, Needle Drop, too low impact. I think they're kind of mid. Willbreaker and Charisma. Crazy good cards on this deck. You put it on your pinging creature, you ping the thing, you just steal a creature. It's so good. Willbreaker, phenomenal as well. You got a Curiosity on the commander with the Offspring Otter. Oh my god, drawing 6 cards per counter spell. Yeah, it's crazy. Oh yeah, the weird is a misdirection on ETB. That's another good add. I mean, the mana base here could use more work. Like, totally. Shivan Gorge is funny, but like, the Snarl is like, eh. And you could go down on some of these basics for more MDFCs, honestly. I think there's like more that could be done here. The deck is cool though. I love mana barbs, period. So like, you know, it's cool. Are they playing the Needlehead 2-drop? No. So I didn't want to recommend that card because right now it's really hot in Standard and it's like $15. So I'm trying to avoid not recommending too many cards that are like $10 plus. I think I didn't recommend it here. Yeah, Secret to Super is like $7, but yeah, a lot of love in the chat for this commander. Also, if you play Warhammer, the model for this dude is so cool. It's one of the coolest models in the game. I love this. Love this card. Sweet deck though. I'm a big fan of this. Oh, okay. When it comes to silly deck names, I think Strikers wins Hawk Tor Scarecrow on that thing. Terrible meme. I love it though. Funny. This commander is really cool and new. So if you don't know what he does, it's a 5-mana 5/5 menace reach. But whenever it enters or you play a card with 2 or more types, each player makes a 2/2 black bird with flying. They're tapped, I guess. And then the tokens are goaded forever. Which is so cool. Like, this is such a cool card. I love this. So you want to play things that are multiple types, right? Pretty simple, right? You play your artifact creature that's 2 types. Everyone gets a bird. The birds are flying in at everybody. That's kind of the gist of this. But it says play instead of cast. Which means, and this deck builder already has it, artifact lands, enchantment lands, all of these trigger that, right? So here are the cuts. Here are the changes. Foundry Inspector. I know it triggered your commander. You're just not an artifact deck. I think it's kind of mid. This really slow. It's like a Nadu trigger if you have Delirium and it attacks. It's way too slow. Renma is a king artifact creature. If you're just playing like an artifact creature modular deck, Renma is pretty good. I do agree. It's just this list wasn't like leaning super heavy on the artifact stuff, so that's why I wanted to cut the Foundry Inspector, but it's pretty good. Adaptive Automaton. Not the best overrun for the birds. Oh, creature lands like Dryad Arbor could also be pretty good. I think that's the only one they're missing, right? They have all the other artifact lands. Oh no, they already have Dryad Arbor. Yeah, they have Dryad Arbor already. Yeah, they were good with the mana base here. Adaptive Automaton. I know it's cute to make your birds bigger, but like, it's not that much damage. I think just a real finisher like Overwhelming Stampede. Doesn't have to be this one, but you know, could be this one. It's just better. Your commander has 5 power. If you give your birds +5/+5 and trample, you're probably gonna just take a player out. Swapping a forest and this bad dual land for shifting woodland and grim backwoods. You trigger delirium really easily in this. Seems pretty good. And grim backwoods lets you sack the birds for card draw. Homeward Path? Why Homeward Path in this list? The birds your opponents create, I don't think you get to steal the birds with Homeward Path. What are my opinions on the push glimmers for Duskmourn? I think they're fine, honestly. They're neat. No, they're not like Theros gods, because like they get swept up in most board wipes and then they come down as just like generic enchantments, which I don't know, they're not that powerful. Especially the red one, it's just like an ogre battle master. They're good. They're just like decent, I think. I don't think they're that strong. Baba Lysaga. This card is really powerful. If you actually trigger it, you sacrifice the 3 permanents, which is really easy to do. 3 permanent types, which is really easy to do in this deck. Each opponent losing 3 life, you gaining 3 life, and drawing 3 cards is huge. It's very easy to sacrifice like 2 creatures and an extra land you don't need, or like a random artifact, just to like get this to work. It's pretty good. Also, Conjurer's Closet. So the commander triggers on ETB and when you cast something. It's not just when you cast. So the Conjurer's Closet lets you trigger your commander every turn an extra time. Or you have other ETBs, right? We can flicker this Noxious Gearhulk, Solemn Simulacrum, Massacre Worm. Playing Massacre Worm and then blanking it with the Conjurer's Closet, so good. Would this be a good place for Toski? Great Toski deck. Toski's like $15, so I did not recommend it. But it is a good Toski deck. Overall, the deck's pretty sweet. I think it's very cool. Maybe some things could get tuned a little bit more. Hey, this is a good Ornithopter Paradise deck, because it actually does something over the Arcane Signet. Maybe Palladium Mirror gets cut for something a little more efficient. There's a few things, but yeah. Those filter lands, you consider them good for a budget deck decided cheap on tap tools. So these filter lands, excellent. I think these are great. They're really cheap right now. They were $30 not that long ago. You should buy all of them. The Signet filter lands, doo-doo, bad, garbage. I would just play a basic. Like, if you're in like a 5 or 4 color deck, maybe, but like, if you want to build a budget deck, I would recommend something 2 colors or 1 color, just so you can skip out on duels in the mana base and put more of the budget towards like actual cards you're playing. So yeah, I don't like these Signet lands. I think they're kind of bad. Sweet deck though. I'm excited to see it in action. Okay, Zero Clark 30 built a Balrog deck. Now this commander could easily be a phenomenal stacks commander. If you want to play cards like Pox and Death Cloud, oh my god, this card is so sweet. This is not a stacks deck though, so I did not recommend any of those cards, but just wanted to say that. Between the Offspring mechanic and Glimmers, makes me think they tried to curb single target removal a bit. I mean, maybe there's really good removal in Standard right now, so maybe that's part of why they wanted more efficient threats. I don't know. What number are we on? Do we have time to before we get to yours? Let me see. Where's yours, Warrior? What deck did you submit? I don't. Not that one. Oh, it might not have your Twitch name, Warrior. It might have your... Oh, no. Oh, yours is one of the last ones, actually. It's the Nekusar list? Yeah. No. You got some time. Okay, Balrog. Yes, Balrog is super sweet. Oh, no. More spam bots. Get out of here. Balrog is really cool, yeah. I do agree that the Glimmers incentivize exile all effects, but it also incentivizes just like enchantment removal. You just cast a normal board wipe, and if you really need to remove that afterwards, which most of them are creature focused, so they're kind of weak post board wipe, you can just remove it. Can I elaborate on why the signet lands are bad? I don't think they're great, but I'd like to hear your thought. So they're really awkward for casting spells, in terms of like, it's not something, you can't hold them up because they don't tap for mana, so you have to tap them with something else. But if you want to cast something that's like, let's just pretend we had the signet land here, if you wanted to tap something that's double black, it means you'd have to tap those and then have a red floating, and then, or you tap 2 swamps and then you have that one untapped and then you're not holding up any mana. It just ends up being kind of awkward. They're not like awful. I just think that a normal basic is probably going to be better, and you have the upside of like dodging random things like Wintermoon. Sad he didn't stick with only Lord of the Rings cards. I mean, I don't know. I'm not. Obviously, you can make a flavor deck. I think they just wanted to make a fun Aristocrats sacrificey deck, which I think Balrog does. Alright, let's get into the changes here. Okay. Maybe this is for flavor reasons, but I think this Balrog is like kind of bad. If you don't want to cut it for flavor reasons, it's pretty good. Seeing the lands being goofy have never been an issue for you. I mean, if you think if they're not that bad, right? I don't want to say that they're like awful. I just think that there's better utility lands that could be played, you know? In theory, it can cause issues. It's like rare that they cause issues. They're, you know, I don't know. I just like basics over them, honestly. Or just like MDFCs that do other things. So I recommend this Balrog. It's kind of bad. If these are in here for like flavor reasons, ignore my recommendation. That's fine. They're just kind of slow. This is also really slow and bad. It's like a treasure with sort of summoning sickness. I don't think it's great. You can see causing issues if you have a lot of... Yeah, if you have 3 pip cards, like, the signet lands are bad. But the filter lands are like... They're like $1 or $2 now. They're really good. I think those are just better. Guild Artisan. I know your commander's kind of cheap to cast when you sacrifice things, but it seems a bit... win more because you already have to have your commander in play, and then you're getting more treasures to do other things with. Whereas the treasures are what you want to power out your commander, so... I don't know. It's kind of... It's just okay. This also felt really slow, and the craft is not that great. So here's some changes. Crack the Earth. It's kind of like Innocent Blood, but it's for any permanent. It's sort of interesting. Makes your commander really cheap. I felt like you were a little low on lands, so adding 1 more land. Hey, the filter land. This one's not $1, because they reprinted these on different cycles, but another land, this is a good example of one that I think could be added. And a Blood-Soaked Insight. I like this card. If you hit your opponent with your commander, it's very easy to make this card cost like nothing, and then you get to just like yoink 3 cards. It's pretty sweet. I think this card's really good. The filter lands are cheap now? Yeah, so the cycle that was reprinted 2 times ago or whatever, they were like $5, and the other cycle that was most recently reprinted are like $1 or $2. Like the black-green one's like $1.99 on Cool Stuff Inc. prices, which is like pretty good. They were like $30 for so long. Atsushi, this is one of the best sacrificey cards in the game. It draws you cards, it makes treasures, it's a 4/4 flying trample, it's great. Logmos, I think you can trigger this pretty easily, and then it just lets you like tutor things. It's kind of awesome. Overall, this deck is pretty sweet. I like the commander a lot. I think the Aristocrat stuff is pretty sweet. Vona's Hunger, great addition. Visions of Ruin, I think this is one of my favorite like card designs. It's pretty dope. Cool deck overall. Maybe you want a few more things that make creature-y tokens, but overall pretty good. Okay. Greasefang, my softest star. This one also was really hard to make cuts for, if I recall. Because the list is like pretty tuned. It even had a lot of the weird cards that I think are good, like Priest of Yawgmoth. And this Soldevi guy. And there's not that many vehicles in the colors, so there's not too many like changes for me to recommend. You kind of have all the good ones. So honestly, my changes were pretty small. Basically, cut this thing, too slow, too niche. Expedition map, I don't know what for. I guess Inventor's Fair. And then just, you needed more removal, I think. So, Fell the Profane, Razor, Grass Ambush, and then another land. Yeah, Greasefang's super cool. I need to be a patron for you. Yeah, this is only for patrons. If I opened it up to, like, anybody, I would have thousands of decks, and it would just be a... Yeah. It would be, like, impossible. I would have, like, 20,000 lists. Okay, there were a couple... Alright, what were a couple cards you were curious about? Because, honestly, like, the list is really good. I was struggling with this one. This was, like, a toughie. There's so many good cards in here. Like, this is a really efficient list. Oh, man, Diabolic Intent is so sweet in this list. Arcbound Ravager. Oh, Restoration? Maybe Restoration. So Restoration, this one, the flippy one. Let me throw this on the sideboard real quick. So I've tested with this card a little bit, right? Did you ever submit one? I don't remember. It would be in our Discord DMs if you did submit one. If you didn't, you can still submit for October. What site is this? I'm on Moxfield. Honestly, I'm considering changing everything from Moxfield to a different website because of the way they do these like bookmarks and folders. I actually don't like. We'll see. If I find a workaround, then I'll stick with Moxfield. If I don't, then maybe I'll have to move every deck to like some other website. Yeah, there's Architect, and I've been talking to Snail about it because he's sponsored by them, and he really likes Architect. So I don't know. He might have convinced me to move everything over. It's just a big hassle. I have now hundreds of decks to move over. Restoration of Vagandra, a cool card. So it tutors a planes, and then you can discard a card and then reanimate something permanent 2 or less. Which if you discard the planes, it ramps you. Maybe you could play it. The problem is like that I found with this card is the flip side is like kind of mid. It's like a 3/4 that like makes a dude. It's kind of whatever. If I was gonna make another change, if you want to add that, maybe you discard something like this. I know it's a repeatable discard outlet, but it's kind of like tapping a creature's kind of It's really cheap though. I don't know. Maybe this one as well, because I feel like you can crew the vehicles relatively easily. Your commander lets you cheat the crewing, and then Arcbound Ravager gets big. Braids has like 3 power, which is like most of what you need. A lot of these don't have super high crew costs, like 2, 2, 1, 3. So maybe you just like ditch this. How often do you need the 4? This could be like another change. Restoration for hotshot mechanic, and then when it flips, it like does more things. I don't know. I'm just kind of down on Restoration of Vagandra. Maybe test it and let me know what you think it is. Who's that commander? Oh, Greasefang. I didn't read the commander. At the beginning of combat on your turn, you get to put a vehicle from your graveyard onto the battlefield, give it haste, and then it goes back to hand at the beginning of the next end step. Cool card. It's why this deck has a lot of things like Arcbound Ravager and Diabolic Intent, because you actually don't want the vehicle to go back to hand. You want to put it back in the graveyard, so every turn you can use Greasefang again and again to reanimate the vehicle. So cards like Diabolic Intent are super good here. And then you just want to like put a Reaver Titan in the graveyard and then reanimate it, slam someone, Diabolic Intent, sack it, and like do this over and over again. Greasefang is like a really cool commander. It's one of these cards. I'm thinking about making a video about this. Cards that like commanders that are stagnant, because like this, yeah, every time we get an artifact sack outlet, it might go in the deck, but until we get a vehicle set, when are you going to upgrade this deck realistically? Like, where are the vehicle upgrades? You have to wait a long time. Not that it's like not a cool commander or whatever, but it is kind of like you play the good vehicles and that's it. Cool deck overall though. I definitely want to see it in action. Sorry I wasn't able to find more cuts. It's just like you have all the good good cards for it. Even some of the like really pricey ones too. I didn't have too many things to recommend. It was a tune list. Okay, Hydrolithe sent a Dragon list. This is an Dragon list that is leaning heavily red, which is kind of interesting. Overall, the list was, standard Dragon stuff. A couple of things to change. I think you had too many lands. There were 39 lands. Ooh, too many lands. Cut 2 mountains, down to 37. You had a Sigarda's 8, and there's like a mini equipment package in here with like a couple of random equipment. Honestly, I feel like the equipment package is kind of overall. Maybe I would even trim the equipment package more. But a lot of these aren't super hard to equip anyway, like Power Fist and Ember Cleave has ways to cheapen the equipped, or it auto equips, right? So I felt like the Sigarda's 8 was like pretty low impact, unless you're up against a I don't think it's the next set. There is a vehicle set in like 2 sets coming up, but then it's like how many more years before another vehicle set, you know what I'm saying? You kind of have to wait. The next set is not vehicles though. Next set is aren't we back to Lorwyn next set? Oh no, Foundations. Right. Foundations the next set. Yeah, we still got time for vehicles. A Siege Dragon is a cool card if you want to blow up walls. Yeah, the mythical too many lands players. I know. I'm someone who plays a lot of lands, so I was, usually I'm not cutting lands, but I had to cut lands here. And then this dragon's low impact. These are just 2 low impact dragons. So I decided, looking at the list, you need more card draw. Dragonlord Ojutai, card draw on a dragon, it's great. Draconic Lore, card draw, dragon synergy, it's pretty great. Monster Manual, kind of card draw, it sort of draws you a creature and lets you put big dragons into play. Excellent card. It is a little pricey. I think if I switch printings to a different one, it would be a lot cheaper, yes. Painful Truths, you're in a 5-color deck, it's pretty great. Yeah, dude, Sea Dragon. Do you remember when we were playing years ago? Tanner had the Archimedes or whatever the Bant Walls deck was, and I played Siege Dragon in my mono red deck, and actually got him with it. I destroyed all walls. That was so fun. I lived the dream. Sarkhan's Unsealing, really underrated card if you're playing big creatures. Whenever you cast a creature spell with power 4, 5, or 6, which not hard to do in this deck. There's a lot of big dragons with 4 power. You get to deal 4 damage to any target. Tacking on a super lightning bolt, boom, every single time you cast a dragon, super good. And then when you do cast something bigger, 4 damage to each of your opponents and each creature and planeswalker they control, so good. Your Shivan Dragon is pretty fun. This deck it's cool. It's just, it's dragons. But yeah, those are my changes. Just more card draw, less lands, cut the low impact cards. Fun dragon deck overall. Alright, this was interesting. This was crazy. So they made a Tomb Raider deck. They have a whole blurb about it too. Yeah, TTM lore, Airsoft Wrong and I, yeah. It used to be roommates. Maybe you'll see Airsoft Wrong on the channel, When are you pivoting to Magic content, dude? First time catching a stream. Love the channel. Hey, thanks, man. I hope you like the stream. So this user is really interesting. This person told me that they got into the game Magic because of the Lara Croft Tomb Raider secret lair. Which I've never heard anyone say before. I think it's super interesting. Anyway, if you don't know what this card does, it's got First Strike Reach. You exile a legendary artifact or land when it attacks from a graveyard. Put a counter on it. You may play the cards with the discover counters, right? I know, isn't that crazy? They got into the game from the Lara Croft one. Hey, they're in the chat too. Your deck's pretty sweet, dude. And then at the end of combat on your turn, if you attack, you make a treasure. So you want to play legendary things, get legendary things in the bin, and then you can sort of turn that into pseudo card draw. The deck looks sweet. You have like all of the ogres that you can play. It's fun. There's some like cool things in here. Thada is very flavorful. All good stuff, and you have a lot of like MDFCs. Brass's Tunnel Grinder, love this card. Overall, really good stuff. Couple of changes. Okay, so I thought you would need more lands. You had 34 including MDFCs. I think we need a little bit more mana. Exotic Orchard seems flavorful as well. You're exploring the Exotic Orchard, and good card. The Grey Havens, ETB, Scry 1, colorless, and you can spend you can tap for any mana if you cast a legendary creature, or among legendary creatures in your graveyard, which you already want to put legendaries in your graveyard to it works for the deck. Reki, cool legendary card. It lets you draw cards when you cast legendary spells. Pretty great. Time of Need lets you search for a legendary creature, which is pretty neat. And then this, you're casting stuff from exile. This is just a good synergy piece. It lets you make wolves when you cast things from exile. It's also legendary. And you can discard a card to impulse draw, which then triggers itself. Yeah, fun theme deck, right? It's a cool... There's some cool stuff in here. I like the, all the on-theme things. What's a cut? Pick your poison. I think this card's not great in Commander. If you're up against an artifact or enchantment deck, it's never going to hit the artifact or enchantment you want it to hit. They're going to sack the weakest one. Nexus of Fate, a little random in the deck. It's like 7 mana. There's not much you do with the extra turn. It's not bad. It's just, eh. Realmbreaker, this thing's slow as heck. It's so slow. I know it kind of mills your opponents. I just feel like it's really slow. Hammer Perforate's also just... We don't have enough things to, get value out of sacking our own lands. It just makes a 3/3. It's a haste enabler, but, it's kind of weak as a haste enabler. And then Storm the Vault. Cool card. I like this card a lot. What do you do with the mana? There's no X spells in here. There's nothing that's, triple blue. I guess it helps you cast this. Some of the big things, but it's too slow. You can probably cast them at that point. Oh, you could make those, yeah. Proxy wolf tokens. Bit of a Lara Croft dwarves. Overall, really cool deck. I think it's super fascinating that you got into the game from this card. It's kind of cool. Alright. We're doing pretty good on time, actually. Alright, there was the Lara Croft deck. Okay. I believe this user is in the chat as well. Spooky Seas. So this commander is kind of cool. I disagree with your pick your poison. Really good. Okay, so it can depend on the pod, but here's my problem with the. Yeah. Well, let's go to pick your poison. Each one attacks an artifact. Each one attacks an enchantment. Let's say you're up against an artifact deck. Are they not going to just sack a treasure? But here's the thing: is you're thinking of it in the sense that yes, if my opponent has 2 Mystic Studies and no other enchantments in play, it's so infinite value. You sack each thing. That's great. That's great. But how often does that happen, right? And then on top of that, let's say the enchantment one I think is a slightly better argument as enchantment removal because decks will casually play 1 or 2 random enchantments. But the artifact one is it's bad artifact removal, right? Because they almost always have a mana rock to sack, It's good, but it's not reliably good. Exactly, yeah. And then each opponent attacks a creature with flying is also like very, like a nothing mode. Yeah, you hit one soul ring, one treasure, and then nothing. It's like, yeah, there's those situations where it's like you cast it because they have an artifact you want to blow up, and they just sack a mana rock instead, and it doesn't do the thing you want it to. I would rather have more consistent. Are you always talking about? You are always talking about running more interaction. How much interaction is too much? The obvious is 2 for 1 yourself and you remove yourself. Too much interaction is when you can add interaction to your deck as much as you want until you are playing a game and you are like, wow, I have 3 board wipes in hand and the board is already cleared, I have nothing to do. And if that's happening consistently, you have too much interaction. In 60 card formats, as a sideboard card, this card is phenomenal. Oh my god, this is an insane... In Pauper, this is one of the best cards in Pauper right now, right? You go... They play their tapped artifact land, because they're on the, like, artifact deck, and you just go, play this, they sack their land, the game's over for them. Like, the tempo loss is insane. Pick Your Poison is really good in 60 card, just not as impressed with it in Casual Commander. This deck. This is a cool commander. On your upkeep, you flip the top card. If it's a creature with mana value 6 or greater, you transform it. The flip side is like a flying Kraken horror. When he attacks, you make a tapped and attacking token that's a copy of another attacking creature. If it was a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, you make 2 of those. Important to note with this, when you make a token that is tapped and attacking, it does not get when this card attacks triggers. You can do damage triggers, you can do ETB, but you don't get when this attacks. So if you have, I don't remember if they have it in here, but like there's a Kraken that's like, when it attacks, it like mills half their library or something. Doesn't really work with the commander. So this is a Kraken, Leviathan, Serpent deck, right? Pretty sweet. Any Chad Garuda players? Yeah, exactly. I played Garuda in the command zone for a while. It's a fun card. Okay, so there's a bunch of reanimation stuff in here as well to reanimate the big Krakens. Very cool. Some like pretty decent removal and mana. Good card draw. Card draw. I like it all. Lands. 36. Pretty good. Let's go to the changes. Exhume. This card is dangerous. This card is like super, super dangerous to play because your opponents can easily have something big in their graveyard. At worst, most decks play Sakurai. Yeah, making them sack a mana rock is just not that good. So I feel like you're running too much interaction. You're playing police in a game. Sometimes you gotta play police, right? You don't want players to run off for a free win. Yeah, they're a little low on the lands, although they do have reanimation effects and ways to cheat them into play, so, Not convinced about Sapphire. Yeah, Sapphire is like... The deck is mostly blue. I was thinking about suggesting it as a cut, but the deck is mostly blue, so it's not that bad. This player, they messaged me, they said that they wanted to increase consistency in the deck. So, how do we increase the consistency? Cantrips. We want to be setting up for that commander to flip as soon as we can to get it going. So, cantrip, plus Consider lets you, like, surveil, so things in the bin, it's great. Cutting this one, you don't play that many instants of sorcery, so the cost reduction is kind of mid. It's also not one of the creature types, you can't copy it. It's kind of whatever. This one, 2 win more, 2 slow. Exhume, I already mentioned, don't really like. Otherworldly Gaze, I think these cantrips are just better. This doesn't actually draw you a card. This one, you put a shred counter on it, and then you, like, mill cards. I don't know what this is for. Reservoir Kraken, another cheap Kraken to help you flip your commander. It's because it's more Krakens in the deck, but also it's like a cheap thing you can play earlier. And then Waker of Waves, it gets itself in the graveyard, which is great to help set up for your commander. And then When it does so, it also lets you like kind of scry too. How many cards per creature in the graveyard? Plenty of cards actually in this list. And if they have Brainstone or Scroll Rack, they don't have Scroll Rack. I didn't want to recommend it because it's kind of expensive. But Scroll Rack would be good. So would Quest for Ula's Temple. There's a lot more things that could change. They do have Buried Alive. They do have Entomb. They do have Forbidden Alchemy. They have like a decent Thirst for Discovery. They have decent ways to get stuff in the bins. They could play more stuff to get stuff in the graveyard, but overall it's pretty good. Oh, they have this one too, Ripples of Unearth. This leaves pretty fun. I think honestly these cantrips are going to go a long way at getting your deck more consistent. Yeah, cool deck overall. Ooh, okay. Hydroth made an Umbrus deck, which is like a nightmare typal deck. I just didn't hit the top of deck. Yeah, if you didn't hit the top of deck often, yeah. Oh, that's why you didn't play Quest for Ula's Temple. Well, with the cantrips, I feel like you're gonna sort that out. I think if you add the cantrips, then Brainstorm is another one. I just didn't want all 5 cards to be cantrips, but Brainstorm, Brain Surge could be good too. More cantrips like that could make cards like Quest for Ula's Temple even better. Fact or Fiction is another great one, or Hostile Negotiations, the black one. So this is another kind of like themey sort of deck. There's like mill and self-milly kind of elements. I wanted to say cut some of the Ashioks, but I assume they're in here because it's Ashiok. Yeah, feel free to like post the list in the Discord as well. After you make the changes, we can take another look at it. Or just test it and see what you think about the cantrips. So yeah, this list is, it's Nightmare typal. This is another thing where it's like, when you have like something like this where it's like nightmares and horror themed, you kind of have all the good ones already, and you have all the new ones that are good. So there's not much more for me to like say in terms of changing those. So few things to change. Oblivion Sower. I think this card without like I get it. You can exile in theory a bunch of cards from your opponent's deck, play this, get like 20 lands, go crazy. But then once you take that opponent out of the game, you exile the rest of their library, you just lose the lands. I don't know. I think this card is like a trap for the deck. You're making it a 5-color Niv deck. 90% of the cost is the lands. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, those 5-color decks, the lands can get pretty pricey. Don't make a sound. This counter spell sucks in Commander. I don't think it's good. Leyline of Transformation. Your creatures are already mostly nightmares and horrors already, so I don't think it's that useful. Swapping an island for Waterlogged Teachings. You don't have that many instants, but it is just useful utility I think you could get. When you have like a low amount of counter spells and removal like this, a tutor like this is a pretty great way to sort of set up to use it better. Strict Serenade, another bit of removal I think is good. You were a little low on lands, so I cut one, swapping for this, and then adding 2. You just didn't have that much removal, so adding 2 more MDSC removal spells is pretty great. More counter magic. I think you had plenty. It's good that you have a lot of ways to exile your opponent's graveyard. When you're milling them, that's good. I think you had too many, so cutting 1 is fine. And I think this is a pretty good horror that you missed. Maybe you don't like the Doctor Who set or something. Maybe that's the reason you didn't add it. But Indestructible Shadow, Morbid, at the beginning of each end step. If a creature died, it gets bigger. I don't know. It's sweet. It chips in. I don't know if they have the same. If the sorcerer that discards an exile from Strixhaven. The sorcery that discards and exiles? I'm not sure. They do have Tasha City's Laughter, which is pretty sweet. Fun deck overall, hopefully, I know we just got a bunch of horrors, so your deck probably won't get updated for a little while. But it's cool, it's flavorful, you got a bunch of Ashioks, it's fun. Oh, okay. This one we got an Oscar deck. So he's pretty sweet. He costs less for each different mana value on cards in your graveyard, makes him cheap. And whenever you discard a non-land card, you can cast it from your bin. If you found the name of the card, let me know. So whenever you discard a non-land card, you can cast it, right? Super sweet. This list is kind of interesting. I know you have the Eater of the Dead combo in here with Phoenix. I'm kind of lukewarm on this combo, honestly, but like, you know, if you like it, that's fine, I guess. Overall, the list is like pretty decent. Here are my changes. Wheel and Deal. You're not milling that hard. I think this is just a really bad cantrip. I don't know. It's only opponents. It's not like you get to discard and draw. I wouldn't play it. So you have the combo to like mill your opponents, and then you had like Labman Jace, but there wasn't like a good way for you to exile your whole library or draw your whole deck, unless you're doing this. Like if you're using Phoenix Eater of the Dead to mill yourself, and then you also need to have like Labman in hand, it seems kind of like, I mean, it's a convoluted win, which is fine. I don't really get why it's in the list. Whereas you could just use these to mill your opponents out. I guess you make infinite mana here. There's some like combos in this deck, and I didn't want to like cut all of them, but like there's Necrotic Ooze too. It just the combo list here just felt kind of weird. I didn't feel like it was like super necessary, and I think there's too many pieces. It's just like we're in the colors of some of the most efficient combos in the game, and it's just kind of weird to have these other like jank crazy ones as opposed to just playing a more mid-rangey plan. So I just want to cut some of those things and instead go up on lands. You had like 33. So like just Dimir Aqueduct. I just pick some budget ones that have utility. Underworld Cookbook. You have the Oval Chase Daredevil. Cookbook is awesome here. You get to discard it, Daredevil in the bin, make the food, Daredevil goes back to hand. It's just like a free food every turn. It's pretty great. Overlord of the Flood Pits. Pretty sweet way to like draw a discard. It's a finisher. And then Chamber of Manipulation. You can discard a card to steal a creature until end of turn. It's kind of interesting in this deck, especially because the discarding is like much less of a cost. So those are my changes. This deck was kind of weird. I honestly felt like I was missing something, but I don't know. Like, let me know if I missed something totally with this deck. But I think you just want to lean more on the mid-range plan, like play Notion Thief and Jace's Archivist and stuff. I think you cut some of these jank combos. Is there Tortured Existence? No, Tortured Existence could be good. Tormod could be good. This is a list that I kind of wanted to make like 20 changes, honestly. Yeah, there's 2 Moth decks this month. Putrid Goblin Thran Vigil Sack Outlet. Is Thran Vigil in the deck? Did I miss that? Thran Vigil, Putrid Goblin, and then you also need like Alternate Dimension. There's like 1 Sack Outlet though. Like what else? It's so many. There's no tutors. There's so many. This deck is a bunch of like different random combos that I don't get the point of. And then there's no tutors to find. Like you need to go down to like 2 different combo lines, 1 combo line. You know. I think this deck honestly needs like a bit of an overhaul. It's so disjointed. What happens if your alternate dimension goes in the graveyard? Like if you mill yourself with some reason and then you like, that's gone. Then this like Thran Vigil Putrid Goblin is just like useless. I don't know. I think you just cut all the combo stuff and play like a more mid-rangey plan, or cut some of the combo lines, replace them with tutors, lean into 1 more efficient combo. That's my recommendation. Oh, welcome back, Link. I don't think we've gone to your deck yet, so you're good. Okay, Wise Mothman V2 by Moth Covered Rock, who I believe is also in the chat. Most games you're going to be starting with half, but you're going to get like half of the combos of different combos in your hand. It's going to be useless, yeah. Okay, Wise Mothman. This is a really popular commander. This commander is super popular. I see it all the time. 2 decks were submitted this month. This is like a mill, self-mill, proliferate deck. You know, very Mothman-y. You really like Beezy's list? Who's Beezy? Is that the nitpicking nerds guy? I haven't seen his list. This deck was good though. A lot of MDFCs. I love it. Good, efficient removal. Some great stuff. Overall, well-constructed deck. Couple of changes. You missed one MDFC. Your commander gets pretty big. Bridgeworks battle, super good. This card is seeing CDH play. It's so good. It's an untapped land on the other side. It's 99 cents right now. It is not going to stay 99 cents. Buy one. Cut that. Scavenger Grounds exiles your graveyard, which I felt like is a little awkward. And Karn's Bastion is proliferate, right? So I feel like Karn's Bastion is just like a good ad here. Okay, I know you're in the chat. Can you explain to me Dismiss into Dreams? Is it just for the commander? Like, put a +1/+1 on each of up to X target creatures? It's just with the commander you, like, target your opponent's creatures, right? With the counters? Is that what the Dismiss into Dreams is for? Because otherwise it feels kind of like, without your commander, it doesn't do anything. And then this, whenever an opponent casts a spell they mill to, I feel like it's kind of a not super efficient mill card. Really great if they're playing like Storm. Really mid if they're playing like any, like, I play a creature and pass deck. Primal Command, kind of lukewarm on the card. In this, it's a little, no Mind Crank Conrad combo. That's true. Honestly, this deck could use that and the last one. Okay, so Mothman wipes things with Dismiss, but does it do anything without your commander? I don't know. It is funny. It's just, I hate cards that only work with my commander. Obviously, it's funny. Like, it's your deck, you know. You make the changes. I did put Abhorrent Oculus in here as a potential ad. It is really expensive right now. I don't know if it's going to go down in price. It seems pretty sweet. You get to Manifest Dread a bunch. It's really easy to meet the restriction for it. It's a 5/5 flyer. I think it's pretty great. Head Shredder. Oh my god. Head Shredder is so good in this deck. Oh man, you're going to ramp so much. This is such a good card here. Definitely, this is like the number one. You have to add Head Shredder. Then Tezzerate's Gambit. I think this card's awesome. You get to draw 2 and proliferate. It's pretty sweet. If you don't want to buy this card because it's like, it is pretty expensive, maybe leave the Dismiss into Dreams or Primal Command in there. You know, Hedge is sick. I'm going to be recommending this for the other Mothman deck. Spoilers. But it's so good. It's so sweet. Cool deck though. Honestly, like, deck overall was like really well constructed. Whenever I'm like recommending like swapping lands, it means the deck is really well constructed and there's not that many other swaps to make. So yeah, really good deck. I think this, if you have one, is worth it. I think this card's really good in this deck, but maybe I'm wrong. Mirelurk to be used, never be useful. What is Mirelurk? Yeah, this deck's pretty sweet. How has Smuggler's Surprise been? Is it good? Oh, my... I don't know why my thing went crazy for a second. That was weird. Mirelurk? Oh, this. How many draws cards, though? I don't know. Maybe it's kind of bad. I'm not sure. Yeah, proxy the eye and test it. Let me know what you think. Cool deck, though. I love the old Mothman. Let's move on to... Okay. Rose Cutthroat Raider by Helium. This, I think, is my favorite deck that I've seen this month. Sorry, everyone else's decks were cool, but this one was sweet. Okay. It's like a mono red kind of like mid-rangey aggro deck, which is super fun. It's like right up my alley. Absolutely love it. This commander is sweet. It's first strike raid. If you attack, you make a junk token for each opponent attacked. Junk tokens are impulse draw. When you sack a junk, it makes red. Great card. Really strong card, honestly. Like in the 99 of so many decks. So in this one, I'm recommending a bit of a package. So Wheel of Misfortune, we don't have too much great synergy with this. I think there's better card draw. This one-off combat effects, it's kind of good, but it's like, I don't know. I wouldn't. I don't like combat tricks in casual EDH. Too low impact. Heraldic Banner. There's a reason I'm recommending to cut this. Well, I'll get to that in a second. Sticky Fingers is kind of neat. Menace is not too bad. It's just kind of okay. It was like one of the slower cards in the deck. Wild Wasteland is... I know it's like you exile 2, so it's like a draw 2, but you skip your draw step. So it's an exile. It's really a draw 1. I don't know. Again, I think there's like maybe some better... We have a lot of card draw with the commander. And I kind of wanted to lean into that a little bit more. And a few other things on the list. Maybe this comes back in if you feel like you need more card draw. I wanted to recommend Break Through the Line. This is one of my favorite cards of all time. I played in my Martyr list. I've been playing with this card a lot as like a hidden commander. It's so good. Giving creatures with power 2 or less, haste and unblockable is awesome. It means that in this deck, your Magus of the Moon can guarantee chip in for damage and trigger your commander. Same with this, same with the tokens it makes, same with your Ragavan. Like, it just gets so much value. And then, it's really good with cards like this. Both of these have 0 power until they go to attack. So this, which has Trample and Myriad, you make it unblockable, give it haste. You swing at the lands player that gets like, has like 8 lands at play. Now it's an 8/4 unblockable. You chunk it for 8, and it has Myriad, so everyone else is going to hit too. Life of the Party, another way to like quickly like get things in. What do you need to do to have your deck reviewed? Yeah, it's a Patreon thing. So my Patreon has like 3 tiers, and if you're in the tier 2 or 3, which is $5 or $10, you can submit a deck every month that you're a patron, and I'll review them here on stream. There's also a $2 tier if you just want access to the Discord, and to like, I have patrons like vote on things like video topics and suggestions as well. Screaming Nemesis. If you're in a red aggro deck, this card is a must-have. I think there's a cheaper printing. It's not that much cheaper. I didn't want to recommend it too much because it's kind of expensive, but the card is crazy good, and I think it'll go down in price a little bit. It makes it so if they take damage from it, they can't gain life for the rest of the game. Good for aggro decks. Stigma Lasher, same thing. Also has 2 powers, so it works to break through the line. And that's why I wanted to cut Heraldic Banner to like keep your 2 power things able to be triggered by Break Through the Line. It's kind of cool. Sigma Lash, yeah, thank you. But yeah, these are. I think this would be a sweet package to add, and I think you could lean more in on the Break Through the Lines. It's pretty sweet. I love this deck though. Bedlam is awesome. Like everything here is so cool. I like your list a lot. Okay. This deck. Okay, so this person said that they wanted to play politics and like give cards that they steal to other players. So there's a couple of like weird things in here, like for that specific reason, which is cool. It's fun, right? Oh, thank you. I'm glad you're liking the content. Hopefully you'll see some other. I got some fun videos planned and some interesting things in the works. I have a potential collab with another creator that I like that I'm working on, so hopefully we'll see that soonish. So this deck's funny. It's got like cultural exchange in it, and like a bunch of weird stuff, which is cool. It's a neat deck. So here are my changes. You actually had what is it? 32 including MDFCs. So I cut 2 to 34 lands, which is a little low, but your curve is also pretty low, so I don't think it's too bad. Swap these 2 for these 2. Hagramaling, Sink into Stupor. You already had the Felder Profane, so I just had to Hagramaling. It's another good one. I felt like for a control deck like this, you want a little bit more counter magic, so counter spell is pretty great. Wrong Turn. If you want to play politics and give people control of other things, Wrong Turn, great ad. Scheming Symmetry. Thank you, chat. Another great suggestion. Sudden Substitution, another fun way to exchange control of things and just like mess with stuff. Very on theme for the deck. And then I cut a few things. Giving your creatures horsemanship is kind of weird. I didn't really. You're not that attacky, combat oriented. This is a control deck. And we didn't we sacrifice things for value when you steal creatures, which is great. But we don't sacrifice enough things that I think the Cutthroat's not worth it. And Millennium Calendar is too slow and jank for this deck. Overall, it seems like a fun, silly kind of politics Esper deck. Maybe you could, like chat recommended, play stuff like Scheming Symmetry, maybe a few more politics cards if you want to lean harder into that. Cool deck overall. Okay, the house always wins by Link. There we go. Modify Memory. Oh yeah, he already had Modify Memory there. Yeah, fun card. Mr. House. Cool. Yeah. Neat card. It lets you make robots when you roll dice, which is fun. And if you roll a 6 or higher, you make a treasure. This deck is actually leaning a bit in on the whole treasure thing. You got Magda, you got Academy Manufactor, Zorn. Cool stuff. All good things. I love Mardu treasures. What are the changes? Helm of the Host. 2 slow, 2 win more. I have instead, Marvin. Marvin has activated abilities of all creatures you control that don't have the same name as this. So instead of using Helm of the Host as a much slower way to get multiple of these, you can play Marvin, and then he immediately has the roll a dice ability. Which I know is not exactly the same because you're not doubling the trigger and doubling the dice, but you at least double the dice, and it's a lot faster. Considering he's a 2-drop. Mayhem Devil. Oh man, you're playing treasures? Use the treasures as removal. Mayhem Devil's great. Skeleton Shard felt a bit slow. Maybe cut that. Descent into Avernus. Cool card. Doesn't really have any synergy with the rest of the deck, so eh. Yeah, I assumed that he wasn't around when he made the deck originally, but like, it's a good ad, trust me. Can you explain Leave to Chance? I'm like, is it just for the chance part? I don't really know what it does for you. And then this card's like 2 slow, 6 mana. House, we need to cure this patient. It's always lupus. So, a few more ads. Ruinous Ultimatum. Oh my goodness. This card is so good. If you're in Mardu, you should be playing Ruinous Ultimatum. It's Cyclonic Rift. Like, I know it's not exactly Cyclonic Rift, but it's Cyclonic Rift. It's as close as you're going to get to Cyc Rift in these colors. It is so brutal. This is a game-winning card. It's like $2. Clock of Omens and Cranial Plating. Cranial Plating, kind of self-explanatory. A lot of people forget that the equip cost is sorcery speed, right? But the activated ability cost, the black, is instant speed. That is not an equip cost. So when you have, your commander in play or whatever, what you do is like you just have let's say you have 2 3/3 robots. You attack with both robots. They block one, they don't block the other. Cool. Instant speed, equip Cranial Plating to the unblocked one. They take 10 damage. Super good, really great finisher. I felt like you could just use a little more oomph in the deck, a little more power. And then Clock of Omens. This card is like, it's crazy. This card is like, it's so good in this deck. You can tap the robot and the treasure to untap Mr. House, to then tap him again to make another robot and treasure. Like, oh my god, it's so good. Yeah, Roaming Throne is a good card, but it's like it is not a budget card. That is the downside to Roaming Throne. Obviously, it would be good in this deck though. Yeah, no, Clock of Omens is good, and then you can tap your treasures to untap your Soul Ring, which then makes more mana. It's just, this is so good. And remember, Clock of Omens can tap itself, so it always pays for half of the first activation. So Clock of Omens plus 1 treasure, letting you untap your Soul Ring, already discounts the cost by 2. It's one of the most powerful cards. And I don't remember, but I'm pretty sure there's some Clock of Omens combos you can do with Jan Jensen. I don't know if there's a third piece we would need to add to the list, but in theory, if you wanted to add a combo, you could do that. It's one of those cards where if you have Clock in your deck, you might accidentally go infinite, so just keep that in mind. Awesome deck, though. I think the treasure theme is pretty sweet. I feel like maybe some more efficient board wipes could be good as well. Like Blood Money's 7 mana. It's kind of a lot. Armageddon's really funny in terms of if you have a lot of treasures. If you're going to go that route, I think you might need more rocks that tap for more mana. But then you'd have to cut bobbleheads, so maybe Armageddon's like too niche for this list. I don't know. Oh wait, Magna and Clock goes infinite? Wait. No. Magna and Clock can go infinite, but you need a way to turn Magna into an artifact creature, right? Because Magna has to turn to an artifact. So if you don't have a way to turn Magna into an artifact, it won't go infinite. Which I don't think this list does. So. Cool deck though. I also like Dahada in the 99. I think a lot of people forget that this card's just ridiculous by itself. Okay, Kalamax from Squirrel. Alright. Okay, so Kalamax is cool. Whenever you copy your first instant sorcery spell, it gets. Whenever you copy an instant or sorcery, it gets a counter. If it's tapped, copy the first spell instant or sorcery you cast, it copies. There are ways you can go infinite with this, with like fork effects and stuff. You can just make it infinitely large. Couple of changes. So basics for MDFCs. Disciple of Freyleys, you gotta put it in this deck. Same with Bridgeworks. Battle, your commander gets big, you can draw a lot of cards. You can draw your whole deck if you like go infinite and then do that. And Pinnacle Monk, you're a spell deck. This one's actually a really good addition to the list. It can actually get big. Crop rotation, you had in this list. I don't know what the crop rotation's for. Reliquary Tower? Survivor's Encampment? I don't know what we're crop rotating for. I don't get it. This is also just like so inefficient. It's like what, like 3 mana Reckless, whatever. No, it's not even Reckless Impulse. It's just like 3 mana Tormenting Voice with flashback for 4 mana. Seems kind of whatever. Oh, thanks, Link. I'm glad you like the advice. Your list is sweet though. I'm excited to when we do some Patreon games. I'm excited to get you to play that deck. Yeah, so these are the cuts. Imposter Mech is a cool vehicle. It's another way to tap your commander, and I know this user plays high power decks. They play at high power tables. At higher power tables, even though Imposter Mech can only copy your opponent's stuff, it becomes way better. Significantly better. The higher power your opponent's decks are, it gets better. Carpenter is just ramps with Kalamax out? Yeah, I guess, but like... Sack a land, get any 2 lands, but there's no like crazy land we're getting. So like, even if you copy it, you get like a Triome and a Spire Garden, like that's cool, but it just seems low impact. So yeah, honestly, it was hard to find cuts. Again, this list is very high power, very tuned. I think... I don't know, there's a few other things we could add. Maybe that flipping artifact, the like amulet. Once you cast 4 spells, it like flips and it becomes a land that copies things. That could be an option. I don't know. I think I need to see this deck, honestly. I'm worried it relies a little too much on the commander and doesn't have enough counter spells to back that up. I guess you have... No, I mean, you have a decent amount of counter spells and slip out the back. I don't know. I'm kind of... I don't get how this deck wins. I'm not sure how you're beating me, honestly. So, I'm wondering how clunky the list is overall. But maybe I'm wrong. I think I need to see this. Primal Amulet. Thank you. That's the card I was thinking of. A 40 instance is awesome. Yeah, I mean, if you're in a Spellslinger deck, that's what you need. I love 40 instants. I have like I never run like this is. I don't run many creature decks. So like 8 creatures. This is right up my alley. I think I want to see more about this list. Honestly, I kind of wish I got. I know I chatted with him in the Discord about the deck, but I wish I asked more questions because I don't know. It feels like it's a strong list, like all the cards are powerful individually, but I don't feel like it's very coherent. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I just need to see it. Nah, you don't need any creatures. Creatures are tremendously overrated. Okay, hey, last 7. Okay, Gromp Economics. We have a Varric deck. This is they made a Orzhov life gain deck. Orzhov landfall deck. So Varric lets you like double activated abilities if you paid life for it, as long as it wasn't a mana ability. Which is cool. So like pay a life, draw a card from Yawgmoth. You can double that, double the draw. And then beyond being a landfall deck, this is also a life swap deck. You get your life really low, and then you swap the life totals around. You redistribute you lower the life to everyone to the lowest, and then you soul conduit, like all sorts of stuff like that. You can use Tainted Sigil and Children of Corliss, so you lower your life total to 1, swap life totals with someone else, and then gain the 30 life that you just lost as well with the Children of Corliss and go up to like 60. You're very new to Magic, starting in January might be. I mean, most people play creature deck. Creature's the most commonly used win condition and type and stuff. Honestly, I want to make a whole video about playing non-creature decks because I think not enough people try it because it feels like the default or the easiest thing to do, so a lot of people do that. Oh, this deck is cool though. I love Adnaz just to take 50 damage or whatever to get to like 1 life. Near-death experience as a win con, super funny. Like this deck is awesome. It's an awesome deck. Here are the changes. Secret Rendezvous doesn't do anything with our synergy. I don't know why we're drawing other people cards. Sinister Concoction, even though you can double the effect, it's still you have to discard a card. It's still always you're 2 for 2ing instead of 2 for 1ing if you copy with your commander. Seems bad. You had 41 lands included MDFCs. I just went down a land. Gideon of the Trials, I know it works when you want to get your life total to 0 and then swap it to instantly kill someone. The problem is that's a lot of setup and this card's very dead most of the time. Yes, fetch lands are ramp for this commander. So you play Polluted Delta, you get to double it and get 2 swaps. It's so cool. This commander's awesome. A Street Wraith, I know it's like 0 mana, lose 4 life, draw 2 cards, but it's just kind of it's just kind of okay. So a couple of additions. So I'm going to talk about these 3 in a second. Grim Tutor. It's a tutor that makes you lose life. It's pretty sweet. I think there's it's a cheaper printing, right? Maybe there's not a cheaper printing. It is kind of expensive, but it's really good for the deck. The new Enduring Tenacity. Whenever you gain life, each opponent loses that much life. One thing that a lot of people don't know about life swap decks is there is actually nothing in the rules of the game that cause you to swap life totals. Instead, what happens is that player loses that much life and you gain that much life. So if you're at 1 and your opponent's at 40, when you activate into a life swap effect with this card in play, you gain 39 life, they lose 39 life. And then that means you can use this ability to have target opponent lose 39 life once you gain the 39, which is really strong. So it's perfect for this type of deck. And then it comes back into play. It's really good. Blood Celebrant. This is a way to get your life total to 1. You pay a black, pay a life, make a black mana if you want, and then you use that black to loop it over and over. Can X spells be a win condition without infinite mana? Yeah, you can just ramp. You can just play green, blue, whatever other color you want, and just make like 10 mana and cast X spells for like 7 or 8. It's good enough value. Seems scary. I did make it to not do that. I did make it only 12 creatures, which is Just make a video about us talking about other types of decks, lower creatures. Yeah, I think I do want to do that. It's an idea. How much mana can you make? It seems, depending on how casual pods are, how much mana you can make before getting interrupted. Exactly. With the X spell thing, yeah, it's how free is your ramp? Which in most casual pods, ramping is like free because nobody pressures you. So Blood Celebrant, you can get down to 1 life. Okay, I know this card's like $35, and it really needs a reprint. But I do think that there's a really good of Eos package we got here. So this one, Ranger Captain, Ranger of Eos, gets 2 1-mana creatures, and Ranger Captain of Eos gets 1 1-mana creature, and you can use it as a silence. So Blood Celebrant, 1-mana creature. Children of Corliss, one of the most important cards in the deck, 1-mana creature. Kame False Hope, another 1-mana creature. And we could add more, but I think being able to tutor up things like Children of Corliss is really important for the deck. And I think you could add a like 1 CMC creature package in here that does other like cool things and make these work really well. Wall of Flesh also works as another way to just get down to 1 life. I just was recommending this one specifically because I wanted to add the of Eos 1 CMC package. Overall, super fun deck. Like, this is a deck I would build. I would play this deck. Oh my god, attacking with your commander with hatred, going down to like 1 life. And then like life swapping at instant speed with this, and then gaining it all back is so funny. Okay. Ninja Skaven built a rat deck, unsurprisingly. And this is a rat colony deck, which makes it hard for me to make cuts because like 22% of the deck is just rat colony, and then the rest of the deck is like the good rat support cards. So 1/3 of the deck is like basically accounted for here, which makes making cuts kind of difficult. So here are my recommendations. 5 swamps. You have like a lot of the good support cards already, even some of the more expensive ones, like Coat of Arms, Skull Clamp. These are all like really great. You have really good efficient removal, good tutors. I mean, you could have a Vamp tutor maybe or something, but there's not much room for me to cut things because a lot of the deck is already rat colony. Flipsorn would be good for that other deck too. Yeah, that's true. You want me to look at your cube? Oh man, that's that's like a whole separate project. I'm not doing any cube reviews anytime soon. That's gonna be long. If you're in the Discord, I'll skim over it, but I'm not gonna do a whole cube review stream. So I recommend more utility in the land slot. 5 swamps. Who cares about basics, right? Agadeem's Awakening. It's untapped land. Lets you get your, some rats back. Bogart Trawler. It's not a rat, but it does do something. Hagra Mauling, more removal. Spymaster's Vault. Conniving is sweet. And you're probably going to have a lot of creatures die because you got a lot of creatures. It's pretty good. Urza's Cave. If you're playing utility things like Rogue's Passage, Cabal Stronghold, Cabal Coffers, Urborg. Urza's Cave is a tutor for Urborg and this in the command zone. In the land slot. Yeah, Throbbing Stone is very funny. This card's really silly. Overall, it's a rat deck. There's not much more to say, Alright, Kingfisher. King Fighter, excuse me, not the bird. Ping for a little and multiply. So this is also a pinging deck, but with Stella Lee as some card advantage, and it's a creature that taps, does other tap creature synergy. Overall, another pretty decent deck. It wasn't like no glaring issues, nothing too crazy. So here were my suggestions. Cut Labman. I don't know how we're drawing our whole entire deck here, but it seemed if I can't immediately figure out how we're doing it, I don't know what the Labman's for then. Yeah, unless there's like a combo, I'm missing. I guess is it lock and load? No, I don't know. I don't know why. Is it based on the precon? I don't know. So this was gone. Murmuring Mystic, it's just kind of slow. Rising Refrain, way too slow. This card's honestly kind of bad. I've seen it played before and I was not impressed. Arcane Denial, not going to go into it. I don't like the card. I think there's much better things to play here. Sword of Wealth Empire. We don't have good things that hold the swords. I guess you can put it on a Talran token or a Locust God token. Or Niv? I don't know. Like, what? Who's our sword holder? Random tokens? They'll just chump block it. I think it's too win more. Too inefficient. Ads. Faithless Looting. Really good for a cantripy type deck like this that wants to be playing a lot of these types of effects. Frantic Search. Snap. These cards are phenomenal to copy. If you, because of the, it's free, right? You pay 2 mana, it untaps 2 lands, or 3 mana, untaps 3 lands. But when you copy it, they become rituals. They give you more mana. And, of course, with your commander, you can copy it pretty easily. Big score. Copies are also pretty great. If you make a copy, casting the copy, not as much, because you still have to pay the additional cost. But it's a pretty good way to churn through your deck. And then the new elf, sorry, it's not elf. The new otter. It can get big if you cast some spells. It has vigilance. It has a little offense defense. It's a looter, but also it can copy spells, which is pretty great. I think these are good. They'll probably just be more consistent and powerful than these. Otherwise, fun deck. You get to ping things. You get to make tokens. Good stuff. Yeah, things like with Perforos, you want to be casting a lot of things in one go. And like Frantic Search with Perforos and all these other token generators is really good. Here we go. Alright, Warrior, I hope you're still in the chat. We got a Nekusar list. It's got Baylor in it, which I recently got destroyed with this. Riptide Rogue. Oh my god, I don't know why it does that. It's kind of weird. Riptide. Oh, this maybe it could be a good finisher. I don't think the deck was lacking finishers though. Oh, was it a curiosity? No, it wasn't like a. Sorry, I think I said pinging deck, but it's like a Spellslinger deck. I think in my mind I was just thinking pingers. So no curiosity, but it was like a Spellslinger deck. Sorry, after doing all of these in one go, my brain starts to muddle a little bit of them. A Nekusar, right? This is a classic Nekusar list. Here are my recommendations. A couple of lands for Glasspool Mimic and Fel the Profane. Fel the Profane, good removal. I've said it like 100 times. Glasspool Mimic, though, really great in this deck specifically because doubling up things like your Cataract Parasite or your Fate Unraveler is a really good way to just crank up the damage. So the utility from it is like way better than an island. Library of Lang, I don't think you need no max hand size on this list too much, and the utility of discarding things off the top is kind of whatever. Yeah, I'm running out of mana. Master of the Feast, it forces your opponents to draw an extra card, but if they just remove your commander or your damaging thing, it's just all downside, kind of risky. This was just kind of the slowest, worst damage effect. I thought there were some better ones, maybe. Specifically this one. It's like $10 right now. I think it's going to go down. 2 mana is pretty great. I think it's just really efficient for 2 mana. And Sangromancer, this gains you so much life in a deck like this. Oh my god. You play one wheel. Oh, you play one wheel and you gain 40 life. You're just done with life for the rest of the game. It's phenomenal. You wheel and deal and just gain a gajillion life. So good. Tainted Strike. It's kind of a fun ad. You don't have to if you don't want to, but if you Tainted Strike on Necrosar, because Necrosar deals the damage, and you wheel twice, it does kill the entire table with infect damage. It's pretty powerful, and it is something you can do. Just a suggestion. Yeah. Also, I love Arcane Denial in this deck. I don't like it in random generic decks, but this is one of the decks where Arcane Denial is great. Because they might not want, it's a May trigger, they don't have to draw the cards. They might choose not to because they're like, I don't want to take 6 damage or whatever. So yeah, overall, deck is like really good. Has a lot of great pieces. I think Sangromancer is so powerful in this deck. Easy add. Tainted Strike, really fun. Notion Thief. Was Notion Thief in the list? Oh, there's no Notion Thief. You could add Notion Thief too. No. Am I stupid? No. Say Nation Thief? No. Notion Thief, there we go. You could run Notion Thief if you want. You combo with a wheel and it just zucks everyone's hand away. It's quite strong. But yeah, overall, great list, honestly. Yeah. Pretty good. I wouldn't change too much else. Maybe Force Fruition is kind of jank, but it's also kind of fun. Alright, last 3. Lumen sent in another Moth deck. So this deck has some fun things. It's leaning a little bit more on the proliferate counters type stuff. With like a Winding Constrictor and a Dreamtide Whale. This gets counters. This also gets counters, right? Put a counter on it, yeah. So we're leaning a little bit more on that, a little bit more on the land type stuff. So here's our recommendations. You had the medallions. I don't like the medallions in... Oh, I mean, if you love Force Version, it's like you kind of need the right pieces for it to work. It can backfire, but it is really funny. Okay, 3 medallions. Instead of the medallions, I think there's just better regular ramp we can play. Undergrowth Recon. Maybe I should have recommended this for the other Moth deck, but Undergrowth Recon is great. If you're milling yourself, it's basically ramping you every single turn. Super good. You have a Flying Commander. You could free running this pretty easily. It seems not bad. Head Shredder, of course, I have to recommend it in this deck. It's so good. And then you had Final Act, which I think is a really bad board wipe, and Tainted Pact. I don't know what the Tainted Pact is for. There's no Thassa's Oracle in here. So, like, you know, if you see this, like, let me know on Discord or something that, like, what the Tainted Pact is for, because I have no clue. And then, yeah, Final Act is just a bad sorcery. It's not Farewell. This is, like, not even close to Farewell. I think this card's quite bad. You might want to replace it with another board wipe. But you already had Damnation and Casualties of War, which is kind of close. But maybe another board wipe could be good. If you don't want to add another board wipe, Corpse Jack Menace. You're running the snake, so Corpse Jack Menace is pretty good. Basically does the same thing. And then 6, if you're milling yourself, 6 is a good card. Am I going to send out links of your tweaked versions? I'd love to reference it. Yeah, so there should be a link to the bookmark, which will be this. It'll be this. It's also on my Moxfield page, which there's a link to on my YouTube channel. So you can use that and you can reference all of the lists from there. Oh, you had a Thorgal but removed it. Oh, I see. I was wondering what this was for. Okay, so you removed the Oracle, but you forgot to take this out. Okay, I spent some time looking. I was going back and forth, like, what is this for? Okay, yeah. All right, then cut the Tainted Pact. 6 is sweet this deck though. Ozolith seems good, but it's like $50. Forgotten Nation's another nice ad. Yeah, overall, I mean, Wise Mothman is pretty sweet. I think maybe you could do with one more board wipe. I know I'm cutting this one that I think is not great, but like a Toxic Deluge could be kind of nice. It's been reprinted, so it's like sub $10 now. And your commander gets kind of big, which is where Toxic Deluge is at its best, when you kill everything but your commander. So overall, a cool list. good card choices. I just think, swapping these out for some more thematic ramp is going to be more powerful, and getting a couple more value pieces in there could be good. Alright, second to last, from Umami Suicide. Infernal Workshop. They have a Ziatora, which is a fling deck. So this commander lets you sack a creature on your end step. When you do, it deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target, and you make 3 treasures. And they are leaning in on the treasure sacrificey thing, right? So Academy Manufactor, Disciple of the Vault, Marionette Master works with that too. Mayhem Devil, Reckless Fire Weaver for damage. Cool, good stuff. I like treasures. But if we're gonna have treasures, I think there's a few things we gotta add. Okay, so one, this list had a lot of lands, 36, and your curve was kind of low, so I decided to cut a mountain. Also cut Strike It Rich. I think it's a little too low impact. It's better in Storm decks. It's not even that good in Storm decks, honestly. Modern Ruby Storm has cut Strike It Rich. Riveteer's Ascendancy is cool, but the problem is you don't have that many your pod line isn't very good, right? A lot of these are 3-drops, which means the Riveteer's Ascendancy is not going to be getting that much value because it has to have lesser mana value. I'll talk about Glimpse in a second. And then this just seemed kind of slow. So I think we need more treasures. More treasures. Doesn't this Mothman list need some sort of recursion effect, they're milling out other good pieces? Oh, that's why I recommended 6, because 6 lets you retrace pretty much anything back from your bin. You have a sauce out for the medallions. I know they're not accidental Tricolor deck. Yeah, if you like the medallions, keep them, I still think Head Shredder and Undergrowth Recon are worth it. So this deck, I think, needed an extra board wipe, Toxic Deluge. I also think you needed more treasure stuff. Brass's Bounty, I think, is really great. I know it's 7 mana, but once you cast it, the treasures are untapped, so you don't actually lose that much, value from it. How have the deck evaluations been so far? I think all the lists are pretty great. Everybody made really good decks this month. I'll talk about them more in, the wrap-up. Brass's Bounty. Great way to make a lot of treasures. Etsushi. Come on. People keep forgetting about this card. It's so good. It just does everything that you want. And Professional Facebreaker. Your commander is huge. It lets you chip in for damage, which makes treasures, which makes more card draw. It's great. I did see you had Glimpse of Tomorrow, which is shuffle all permanents you own. It revealed that many from the top of your library, and you put all the non-auras onto the battlefield, right? And this is really good with treasures, because treasures are permanents, and then you... good night, Goth King. Thanks for joining. Glimpse of Tomorrow is great with treasures because you shuffle, 10 treasures plus all your permanents into your deck, and then you put, 20 things into play, right? It's not quite a just because it's not a ritual. It's only a ritual if you don't tap the if you don't use the treasures and you wait a turn. In which case, yeah, I guess it's if you squint really hard, it's a budget Jessica's will. Warp World, I think, is just a faster Glimpse, because here's the thing, is you play Glimpse tomorrow, it's suspend 3 turns for your opponents to go, let's board wipe them so they don't get all the value. Warp World is the same thing, but it's it's all players. And since you're probably going to have a higher number of permanents in play, just by virtue of having 9, 12 treasures in play, this is going to put you way ahead and destroy your opponent's boards. If they're playing a Spellslinger deck that doesn't have a lot of things on board, they're going to shuffle, 6 lands into their deck and 2 mana rocks and get 7 random things, and it's going to be worthless. So I think this is just a more powerful, consistent version of Glimpse of Tomorrow. I do want to play Warp World in a deck. It's really strong in the right list. But yeah, this deck is pretty great overall, I think. Ziatora is really strong. I like the Baba Lysaga. I like Academy Manufactor. I love Jury. This is all sweet stuff. Okay, last list is Zimone Mystery Unraveler. So it has Landfall. You get to Manifest Dread. If it's the first time that ability triggered. Second time, you get to flip a permanent face up. So, this is a Manifest Dread theme deck, which is pretty great. And there's some fun things to cheat into play, like World Spine Worm. If you flip that up, it's pretty cool. How many more times am I going to go live? I mean, if I have time to do my... I'm going to go live again this month. I do these monthly. The only reason the September one wasn't last week was because I was moving house. So, like, I couldn't... my computer was packed up. I couldn't do anything. But I'll do one more of these at the end of the month. So, if you're a patron, if you join today, next week, even the week after or whatever, you can still get in for the October one. Mama's lasagna. A good one, Moth. So this list, there's a lot of cool stuff. Here are the changes, though. Cut a forest for Alchemist Refuge. If you're in Simic, you should be playing Alchemist Refuge. The card's awesome. It lets you give anything flash for just a 2 mana additional cost. It lets you play your whole turn at instant speed. It's so good. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, of course. Wilderness Reclamation. I know I'm saying add Alchemist Refuge, but Wilderness Reclamation, this deck doesn't have that many instants, so it doesn't play at instant speed that much. I don't think it's like that worth it. Maybe if you add the Refuge, then Wilderness Reclamation gets better. I don't know. Sword of the Animist. We don't have good sword carriers. Like, this is a good sword carrier if you get it out. But then other than, like, who's carrying the sword? This 0-4 that you want to tap? Like, there's not good sword carriers here, so axe that. This is, I don't know, I think it's just really slow. Return a land you control to its hand, then draw a card, then discard, unless it was a non-basic. Too slow, too inefficient. This one, 7-5 with Trample. You're not a super combat-oriented deck, so I don't know how good this is. I guess it lets you untap 7 lands when it attacks. Seems a bit meh. Yeah, this deck can be really slow with Sensei's Divining Top, if you want to add that as well. I think you needed more removal, so Frilled Mystic is a creature that does creaturey things for the rest of the list, but also is a counterspell. Cyber Conversion, great in Simic decks. This is a good way to get around Indestructible, because turning face down doesn't matter. So it's Indestructible removal, but also you could use it on your own creature and then turn it face up to trigger things that, like, when this is turn face up, draw a card. So if you really need to, you could Cyber Convert your own thing, turn it face up, draw a card. Treasure Cruise, I felt like you needed more card draw. You're filling your graveyard, Treasure Cruise is great. Undergrowth Recon, you're filling your graveyard, it's really good. I just got back into Magic 3 weeks ago. Oh, nice. And so, would you have any tips for a... I don't know what that commander is. Marina... Oh, this. Interesting. I would have to look at all the rooms, honestly, because it's a new commander. Off the top of my head, I can't think of something in particular. But yeah, if you want to, submit the list and become a patron, I would love to take a look at it. What about Over the Top? Is Over the Top not just better? Over the Top. Oh, for the red deck. Oh, each player shuffles any number of cards from reveal the top into the permanents. Put all the permanents revealed. Each player reveals a number of cards from the top of their library, equal to the number of permanents they control plus all permanents they reveal. Okay, so this doesn't disrupt your opponents in the same way. It's yeah. No, I found it. This doesn't disrupt your opponents in the same way. Because if they just have permanents, they get more permanents. It doesn't harm them. Whereas Warp World can just mess with a player totally. Yeah, but Zimone, interesting card. I think both Zimones are pretty fascinating. I think this deck just needed a little bit more removal, a little bit more card draw, a little bit more ramp, some more utility in the lands. But this is another deck that probably isn't going to get any more meaningful upgrades for a while, because when's the next time we're going to go to a flippy set? But it's cool, you know, for the meantime. At least you'll get some land synergy stuff. And that is all of the decks for this month. Whew. That's all of them. I think this was harder than the previous months. I think people submitted better, more well put together decks, so it was harder and harder to find specific cuts. I think this was pretty interesting. Not strictly better, just the warp world for giving your opponents. Yeah, I agree with Aiden there. Yeah, this one just benefits everyone. It's not like the warp world where it can like mess with people. If you want to submit a deck list, you can join the Patron. There's a link in the description. It's on my channel as well. It's in all my videos. You can follow me on Twitch here. Subscribe to me on YouTube. Check it out. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. I think these were all really great decks. Big ups to everybody for submitting. Thank you very much. I need to go. It's been a long stream. But I'll be hopefully live again some other time for some Patreon games. If you want to join the Patreon for webcam games, we do those as well. But yeah, thank you very much for